I've got two souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs spoon. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Rock bottom make the man and some pressure make a gemstone. Try to put $1 to my name like Creflo. Naja boy, late to the game, it's in the blood flow. And I'm from the south, it's thick skin and tough bone. Big attitude through big lips with gusto. Trust no kings, that's why they tried to crush souls. But it's IGBO, when the dust blow, this old head be standing there. No silver, just gold. Crack no books on the hustle, I was born to grind. Yo, scared of your potential, I'm adorned with mine. 30 times around the sun, man, of course I shine. My legacy will not dwarf with time. And in my daughter's eyes, it's basic, I must not say quit. Every day sees a present like a Rob St. Nick. Walk a fine line between tenacious and patient. I can't slip, I'm fighting clocks and they can't win.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my wounds as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror? Oh, oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Impeccably I flow, hardest raps you know, breaking status quo, reaping what I sow, artistry like Van Gogh. Get it from my mama, hips so thick that I need tempo. Personality, spicy body banging like a bongo. Cause black women been it since Timbuktu, since Pharaoh. Sponge rollers and hot combs, lips, cheeks and brow bones. If you ain't for the culture, then please stay out of my zone. These little dummy rappers could never grace my headphones. See, I'm from a place in space where ain't no storytelling, you just had to have been there. If you want the battle, ain't no problem, say where. I got so much experience, I can't even play fair. But I'ma keep evolving and growing and hurting feelings and showing. You need endurance to go in, I got mileage on this pen. I've been busy cause I've been out here schooling all these kids. Took 3 decades to have this glow up that I did.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror? Oh, oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. Turn all of my
were checking shoes last night to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly! Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Austin.
Boy, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh! You wanna get sued?
Judgment, Austin.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a running.
Sorry for what?
But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love it when he does that.
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. And it's so good to see all of you guys tonight. Thank you for being here at Night Court. Night Court is in session tonight and I have a good interview that's kind of fresh. I haven't seen a lot of people really go over any of this creator's content, but Jack Fox has done 4 videos on Sebastian. We went over 2 of them already. This is the 3rd one we're going to review, and Seth's in the hot seat tonight. So we're going to be grilling him. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, he's being analyzed by another expert. Now he's been analyzed several times before, and you know, he was in here earlier today and I said to him, that's got to be so weird, like that you're watching interviews of you being interviewed, right? But that's a lot of what we do on YouTube, or even the professionals and experts will come on and do that because, people enjoy watching it. And so, even talking about like Crime Con last night, it was interesting because I would like to go to Crime Con and I would like to do the seminars, but then other people are like, I would like to go to like the more interactive ones where you dress up and role play and things like that. So either way, or I think they call it cosplay. So either way, I find it to be interesting to go over what the experts are saying, or what people are who are educated on the subject of like linguistics and body language experts, what they have to tell us and what stands out to them, right? What should we be looking for, type of a thing. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And Chuchi, thank you so much for being here, so much for putting in all of the disclaimers. And little Miss Sharon is here also. Hello, little Miss Sharon. And thank you guys so much for the green hearts too. I see all the green hearts in chat. While I wait, I'm listening to an old interview with Josh, Seth, and T-Rev. Oh, really? Or Trev? Is it T-Rev or Trev? Okay, yeah, that's great. No, I love watching the old interviews, especially Josh does a great job. I wanted to maybe go over some of Betty's, but then I was thinking maybe I'll just put it into a video, um, in the timeline video, because Seth talks a lot about that first day, right? When he arrives, the first day Sebastian's reported missing, the 26th of February of 2024. Today, while I was looking around, right, and I was watching this, and to see, because I wanted to at least see, I'm going in pretty blind, but I mean, I wanted to at least see which interview this creator chose, right, to analyze, because there's several. So when he analyzed this, it was, bear with me here, I'm going to pull it up. It was in June, I believe, if my memory serves me. And I did share this whole video, so watch it without any commentary again, because I didn't upload it separately like I do sometimes. So yeah, this one is from June 21st, right? And it the premiere, oh sorry. Oh, okay, the members. Okay, so it was a members only first on June 21st, and then it premiered to everyone on June 23rd. But just to give you a timeline of when he made the video, so we'll stick with June 21st. Sometime around that time, then he released this video. And we'll get him up on the screen too there, since I have him. All right, there we go. And again, this is a Nancy Grace interview from, well, actually, I might show you this video first. And I also want you guys to take a poll for me tonight. And I'm going to put an extra option in. So it'll be the same poll that I posted earlier, but it's going to have a third option. But the question is going to be, do you think that Sebastian made it home from the Texas Roadhouse? Do you think he made it home, or do you think that he went missing overnight? Do you think the incident happened after the Texas Roadhouse, after he made it home, or did he even make it home? So, because I'm curious to know, we had a 50-50 this afternoon, and I think probably like maybe 25 participated. So, those numbers. But more people would have participated if they were given the unsure option, they said. A lot of people said they weren't sure. We had like 60 people. So with that many people not being sure, and then a 50-50 on the score, the average is probably, somewhere probably around, more people are unsure than anything. And some people think absolute, the majority of people are unsure. We'll just say that. So that's my interpretation of it. And hello, KJ Matt, good to see you. And Gail is here. So good to see you guys. Let's see, Linda Nunley. Hey, Linda Nunley. And thank you guys so much for hitting the like button too. And I think we got to 100 earlier too. So that's awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for that. It's a free way you can help. And definitely feel free to share out or use clips, things like that. Hey, Sasha Johnson. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Cinderella is here and Poppy Love. And Peace, Love, and Jeeps is here. Hey, Lori. Good to see you. So I think you guys are going to enjoy this because it's going to be us looking at Seth's responses and, what to key into when someone's being honest as well, right? So we can apply that to, we can apply the same principles to finding out whether someone's being truthful also. So that's good because we can apply it to both. I think. And Jilly, so good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, Jilly, that earlier episode was really good for if you've ever, if you've never seen like the whole interview with Holly Thompson, because we were telling you, Jen and I were telling you about it. And hey, Paige, good to see you. Oh, we love you, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. It's so sweet. Peace, love, and Jeeps. And Catherine, good to see you, Catherine. And Bo is here. Thank you for being here, Bo. And Sybil, good to see you. It's time to get the guilty and corrupt where they belong and justice be served as soon as possible. It's been long enough, way too long. Seth has been through enough. Sebastian's army is tough. Oh, that's so sweet, Sybil. Thank you. Yeah, amen. I think we need to keep on putting the pressure on. We need to keep putting the pressure on because here's the thing. They basically did a search, right, for 7 whole days. Then on the 8th day, they scaled the search back. They said they're going to take it to the investigative side. On March 20th, when Nancy Grace aired this video, she shared out the original TBI flyer. But Eric Craddock was seeming to just push off all of these leads to Lieutenant Brandon Carter. He wasn't a detective. He wasn't Detective Brandon Carter. He was Lieutenant Brandon Carter. So they searched a landfill and then they call it good because April 2nd comes around and they did another full-scale search of the same area but yielded no results. And that was it. And then we have Brandon Carter back again, and here he is here he is there. But he's a rookie. He hasn't solved any cases, and he was a lieutenant at the time when they entrusted him with one of the biggest cases they have. I never realized when he actually got into it, right? Until we were thinking back on it. So it's just very interesting. Hello, Shadow. Good to see you. So I made a short video about that. It's only like 2 minutes long, and I put the Eminem song in there because I thought it was funny. Will you please stand up? Because he never talks. He never comes out and says anything. He's like he's Sheriff Snuggles Struggles biatch, right? And I'm sorry, but that was cracking me up with you know JLR's ex talking about Snuggles, Snuggles, Snuggles. Oh Lord, I'm traumatized from that. Sick and tired of those evil dirtbags sitting back, yeah, loose and never stepping up with the truth. Yeah, it's sad because um, Chris and Katie, in my opinion, like we were talking about the other day, are the biggest hindrance in all of this. Because somebody asked that question, what's the biggest hindrance? Or who's a list of people that have, interfered here? Um, they're one of the main ones, right? Because they just don't want the truth out there. And it's so sick. Hello, my PTSD. So good to see you. Ah, thanks, Chuchi. Okay, Trev. Okay, cool. I think I remember that one. I was thinking, was Josh on T Rev or was T Rev ever on with Josh? So, thank you, Bo, for sharing the flyer as well. So let me go ahead and just show you that little piece that I made today really quick. Let me grab it up, and I'll do the poll. So do you think Sebastian Rogers made it home? And guys, don't be shy. I don't know the answer. None of us know. Nobody's going to know how you voted. And let me add an option if you're unsure or don't know, then that's fine too. I just want to know what you guys think. I'm really curious to find out. And people were interested earlier. Hey, TJ. So we got that. We got another poll rolling. Let's see what it says. Hello, Sabrina. Good to see you. Yeah, Sabrina says I feel like he never made it home. We were like 50-50 split, right? And then like but the majority weren't sure. So, I mean, yeah, it's just but it wasn't up to 50% of people that weren't sure. I mean, you know, yeah, it was just I don't know, I'd say 40% were unsure and then the rest would be split between maybe 20 and 20 or excuse me, maybe 30 and 30. I don't know. Hello, Mama Davis, and wait, what is here? Good to see you guys. So yeah, I'm just curious to see what you all think about it because um Linda says, yeah, okay, he never made it home in my opinion. Yeah, I didn't realize how many people were, you know, thinking that Sebastian might not have made it home. I thought maybe more people would think that he did. So it's very interesting. Scranton says I'm a bush dweller. No worries. We played a lot today due to working. I know. Oh my gosh, girl. I know. And I know you were traveling too. I'm glad everything's going well and all that good stuff too. No worries. I do that all the time. I'll be in the bushes. I try to tell people I am watching. Um, so and Debbie says what? So good to see you. Hey, Debbie says what? Aw, thank you, my PTSD, for sending a super chat. She says, I love music that sets the mood and point if the message is gives the message strength. I think she says, no damn numbing spray from Craddock. Brain, let's kick booty for Sebastian. That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the numbing, I swear the first night when I heard it, I thought she said cream. And I said to Chuchi, did she say spray or numbing cream or spray? I was thinking of like, I think I think I was thinking of icy hot or something. And then, and then somebody in the chat said Oragel, and we all died. Oh my gosh. Wait, what says the biggest hindrance in Hendersonville is the feet and the socks? I think so too. I think they're all involved in some small way um, of making things a little bit harder in terms of the comfortability to move forward without finding Sebastian first. Because that's what they were basically telling us over at the Gathering of Voices. They were like, we just are looking for that one last clue. And like, okay, well, you know, you know what that means then. I mean, it could be something else, but that's just the way that they made it seem. So, yeah, positivity time. Good to see you. Yeah, I agree. I agree. The 3M car is what makes me think you made it home. Yeah, and what was great about this creator, um, Jack Fox, is he said, it doesn't matter about the how or the why, but because Chris Proudfoot's talking about the $1 million question, and then Jack Fox says, well, the real $1 million question is where is Sebastian? So yeah, I mean, it's not as important, but I do think it's important to just analyze all of this, knowing what we know now. Hey, Holly S., good to see you. And Tracy is here. The audio, Holly, I wish I could have gotten better on the audio. Like, I wish I could understand it better so I could present it to you guys, because I cannot understand it for the life of me. And a lot of people wanted me to listen to it, but I did, but I was reluctant to replay it. I know there's some isolation on, they add new things to our editing apps and things like that, and I did notice that they have that where you can isolate certain voices. And I played with it a little bit with some audio. Um, but I'm not as familiar with it. I'm sure everybody's used all the tools they have to do it. Um, so Sandy says, I knew when with the green hoodie. With the green hoodie, yeah, Sandy. I mean, that's another thing too. They never checked on any of that. They just haven't. Um, Hello, lover girl. Good to see you. Sabrina says, I'm a mother of 8 children and all my babies. It hurts saying that they are grieving father who loves them still, and KP is odd. CP is still mad for no reason. Yeah. I mean, I think Chris just stays mad about stuff. I mean, I get it. If people are saying stuff about you online, I mean, it happens and it's not the best feeling or whatever. But I mean, I think he just stays mad. He's just grumpy as hell and just crotchety, a jerk. Rita says, it was so good to meet you in Gallatin, Tennessee. Aw, thank you, Rita. Very nice to meet you too. Um, Sam is here. Hey, Sam. This community is definitely organized, in my opinion. Hey, everyone. Yeah, I mean, hey, we're trying really, really hard. Like I said, I really want to go back to the beginning again, and I wanted to do that before the trip and everything. And then so much has happened. So much has happened since even the beginning of the year. Hello, all that is unseen. So good to see you. Oh, thank you, Holly, for your super sticker. That's so sweet. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. Uh, I see. That's what I was thinking with the cream. I was like, I know it's like numbing, like, how it's like tingly. Oh my God. You guys crack me up. Oh my gosh. That was just, I don't know. It was just so funny. It was the ladies taking their power back laughing at him, and it really it cracked me up. Okay. So let me get this funny video out here for you guys. And it's also, showing this lieutenant situation. Lieutenant Brandon Carter, who was not, I repeat, he was not a detective. And then they give this old boy Sebastian's case. But why? I mean, that's crazy as hell. Um, all right, so let me switch it up. Sorry about that, guys. Let me switch this up. Uh, all right, and we'll probably play the whole video at the end. I just want to switch over to this part. All right. Okay, here we go. Let me share this over. All right, so Craddock he's urging the public, right, to share the original TBI flyer. He was saying that outside, or excuse me, when Seth was outside of Sumner County Sheriff's Office. He's like, hey, you guys need to, be sharing that out. You guys don't need to be sharing out any of the other flyers. Please share this one. Don't share the FBI one that has $50,000 reward. Don't share that one. Share this one, right? So this is March 20th, right? Same Nancy Grace episode. I took the picture. Autistic boy, Sebastian Rogers, missing new clues, right? And this is when she's talking to Seth Rogers, right? So here is March 20th, 2024 being pointed out here, right? Again. And it says Sebastian Rogers, 15, has not been seen for over 3 weeks now. Mother Katie Proudfoot reports the autistic teen missing after finding his bed empty in the morning before school. An extensive search began with authorities using helicopters, drones, search and rescue dogs, fixed wing aircraft, a bunch of resources, came up with nothing. What a waste. All right, so now I'm looking at this and I was like, what the heck? And this was from when I was looking at Jack Fox's video, right? So then I'm like, okay, Lieutenant Carter. Well, that was back in May that Nancy was using that. Holy cow. So why were they doing this? It around May 20th, or excuse me, around March 20th. March 20th. Why were they in 2024 in the beginning sending and having everybody call 615-451-3838 for Carter, who's lieutenant? He's not a detective. He wasn't one of those lead guys. So what's up? You know? Oh my god, the JLR stuff is wild. It's just wild. Scran says freaky or freaky. Sorry. Oh, better on the second take. Holy cow. I'll tell you what. He just fell. I mean, Sam, I know. I know. I mean, yeah. And I think it's going to continue to get, I think it's going to keep getting more and more wild. Lori says so wild. I think it's like, I think it's just begun, you know. But one thing that I thought was cool is I saw that Magnolia went mudding, and I was like, that's cool. I'm glad she's having a good time with her family and just reconnecting. And that's what you have to do, just reconnect with yourself, who you used to be. So that's wonderful for her. JLR, he's not doing so hot. I mean, he's got a psychopath that's like following him around. Also, I heard that nerdy addict had booked a flight to, I think it was Tucson, because all right, I'm not condoning it. It's just a little bit funny that they're like, look, I would have appreciated someone to be that crazy whenever I was I was going through it. Now I'm not condoning it. I don't think it's right. It's kind of funny. Um but JLR is going to Arizona on his way there, and so I guess so is Nerdy. I don't know. I didn't see the proof or anything yet, but because I was trying to step away, but then as I was scrolling through, I saw a title, and so then that's how I knew. Right. Hey, Kiki, good to see you. I was checking out your videos today on replay too, Kiki. So good to see you. Make sure you drop your link too, because we got a lot of people in here. So, yeah, I know. So it's like I like, again, I'm telling myself, don't feel sorry for JLR, and this is toxic. Those were my two main sentences after seeing that. Because I'm like, well, you know, Magnolia deserves justice. And we just don't see that happening in domestic violence cases. So when people are out there trying to, you know, I don't know. It's tough. Anyway, that's an update for you for you guys. But I think it's just like the beginning, right? Because people are very much interested in it. Um Kiki says, remember lady for me getting yelled at because there was a poster that had Knoxville number on it? Yeah. Well, and I know, Kiki, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, how many variations of Sebastian's flyer has there been also? Because even when we look back at the TBI release that came out, it was like, but you guys don't have a lot. I mean, the information on here isn't correct. And then where are these people? Like, who's heading up the investigation? Who is in charge? Like, we don't even know. It's absolutely bizarre, you know? Yeah, for sure, Kiki. I mean, so yeah. So I just kind of wanted to show you guys that, but this is like a little short, and then I put in, um, other just little tidbits about Brandon Carter, right? And about how we become, and then here's open cases, right? And honestly, this is what the little kids must think, like what do the kids think? I'm telling you, if I was a kid in Hendersonville, I don't care what age I was like, damn, I'd be like, I wouldn't want them looking for me, you know? The water boys got it under control. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That water boy thing, you guys had me cracking up. And then I'm going over there trying to find that clip water, or Gatorade, yeah. And especially because, that's what Sheriff Craddock is doing. He's the water boy, not the sheriff. He's quenching their thirst, right? However he says it. Oh Lord, right? But this is part of, what they have on the website under their open cases. And I did another video, so it's very similar. But again, here we go. And this says Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, Bobby Simmons. Now this is current because whenever I put this video up, which was a couple days ago, right? Or last week, whatever. I mean, this is straight hot off the presses, hot off their website. Took a screen grab of it and put it up for you guys. So, what the hell is going on, right? So this one is Detective Carter. He's a rookie. He's not rookie of the year. Not rookie of the year because guess what? It's been 2 years. Not rookie of the year the first year, second year, going on the third year. Why is he in charge of it? I just don't think it's good enough. I'm sorry. If it was my kid, I wouldn't think it was good enough either. No way. I'd be like, this is not acceptable, right? And I need you gone off my child's case. You're not doing anything. You guys are not searching. You guys are waiting. That's not, you're waiting to find him. That's never going to help the situation. You need to get out there off your tush and do it. All right. So this is our friend Jack Fox. And this is Seth in the hot seat. I'm going to give Seth a lot of crap tonight. All right, guys, don't come for me. I'm just teasing Seth a little bit because, here's the thing. I think that we need to look at all the parents in the beginning. I think we need to, keep on the situation. But when we realize that Seth has done everything that he's needed to do, and he comes out and the conclusions that the experts are coming to is that Seth is being truthful. He really doesn't know where his son is. He really wants to find his son. I think we can start recognizing that that's exactly who we're looking at, right? And who we're dealing with. Someone who shows himself, someone who does what a real parent would do, what a real dad, what a real mom does, right? What any of us would do. And that's why it's difficult. This is a difficult case. Sebastian Rogers, Seth Rogers analyzed, I need my son back. Quote, I need my son back. Doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter why. I need my son back. That's it. All right.
Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And we're back with the Sebastian Rogers case. for this episode. Sebastian went missing a few months ago at the time of recording. There's been no information about him. He certainly is still missing at the time of recording. It's a really, really sad story. Sebastian was 15 at the point that he went missing. We're going to look at Seth Rogers today. Seth is Sebastian's natural dad. Seth and Sebastian's mum have split up, so he was spending his time between his two parents. I did this story before, and I looked at Seth's mum, Katie, and stepdad, Chris. You can find a link to that in the show description if you want to take in that. And I found some interesting things in the words of Chris and Katie. I thought that something happened that night. That's the Sunday night before Sebastian was announced missing. I thought something happened that night. Something happened, and whatever happened, it caused Sebastian to leave, because they kept talking about that Sunday night, even though they weren't asked about that Sunday night. I thought whatever it was, some incident or fallout or something like that, was related to Sebastian's behavior. I wondered if the wider family were involved in some way, and I didn't see signs of guilty knowledge. That is, I felt they were hiding something from us. I felt they were concealing things, especially about that Sunday night and their real feelings about Sebastian's behavior. But I didn't see signs that, well, they were hiding a deep, dark secret, shall we say. I didn't see those signs in Chris and Katie. We're going to look at Seth. A lot of people asked on the back of Chris and Katie to have a look at some statements from Seth. So we're going to do that. Let's judge him through.
Now, I do think that Chris and Katie are hiding something, and that is that they know where Sebastian is. They know what happened, right? So I didn't always feel that way about Katie, but as some of the facts came out and unfolded, and this is the only reason why we do have to somewhat focus on the how, is because we're trying to figure out who did what and what did they do, right? But the problem is that they were trying different ways of, for the lack of a better way of saying it, getting rid of Sebastian, right? Like sending him to his dad's, sending him to the schools. All of this was going on. And there were many, many issues within the marriage and the family dynamic when it came to stepfoot, Katie, and Sebastian. And then Sebastian's in the middle of that, and he's being blamed for things, right? And we watched the interview with Holly Pollyanna Thompson, and she is offering up options, and she's asking compound questions. And so it was a very messy interview, but she was also, again, I think, aware of the situation and aware that she had to tiptoe around certain questions and details, such as, so did you call 911? Or, but no, she knew that they didn't call 911, I'm sure. Right. But what were you thinking? What were you going through? Right. Then she asked them that instead of the real question. Yeah. Did you call 911? Where's the 911 call? Where is it? Guys, whenever there's missing details, huge missing pieces like that, that's a huge red flag. No matter what anybody tells you, no matter what anybody says, that is a huge red flag. There are certain things that are typically done in these cases, and if we're missing a piece to something, that tells us a lot. That tells us that something went awry there. It's not ultimate guilt, but it's also something that's majorly wrong here. And we're going to hear Seth talk a little bit about putting this puzzle together and that there's missing pieces to it. So let's watch as they analyze Seth.
The same lens. So this is what I asked you to watch out for when we were looking at Chris and Katie's words: repeated words and ideas. So this quite often reveals our true thoughts, reveals what's high up in our brains and our thinking systems. They come out in repeated words and ideas. Look at the tenses that are used. Quite often, if someone knows that someone who is missing isn't coming back, they will refer to that person in the past tense rather than the present tense. And look for hidden truths, things that come out when we talk that are revealed in the way that we speak. So let's judge Seth the same way as we looked at Chris and Katie. And we're going to watch an interview that he did with Nancy Grace. Now, this interview took place about 3 weeks after Sebastian was reported missing. So here's the first question and answer that we're going to look at.
Could you recount for us when you learned Sebastian is missing? I know it just seems completely surreal.
Son, there's no words for it. I mean, when I found out that he was gone, I was just like, I headed over to Katie's house, see what was going on, and he's not here. I don't know where he's at. I've been looking for him every day. It's just.
So the question Nancy asked was, could you recount for us when you learned Sebastian is missing? I know it just seems completely surreal. And Seth's answer is, oh yeah, there's no words for it. I mean, when I found out that he was gone, I was just like, I headed over to Katie's house, see what was going on, and he's not here. I don't know where he's at. I've been looking for him every day. It's just, and it trails off. My first thought here was, did he answer the question he was asked? He's asked, can you recount for us when you learned Sebastian is missing? And he says, there's no words for it. I think that talks to the second part of Nancy's question, which was, I know it seems completely surreal. And he deals with that by putting what completely surreal is into his words, which is, there's no words for it. That, to me, is dealing with completely surreal. There's no words for it.
I agree here. And so we shook Seth out of the bushes. I see you in here, Seth. We have some questions for you, sir. No, I'm just teasing you. Here's the thing. I think that's it because, we were talking about compound questions again. So this was one by Nancy. Could you recount for us when you learned Sebastian is missing? Right. But she's also, if you look at Nancy's facial expressions, she's known about Sebastian's case. She covered it. And then, again, she's talking with Seth. And this is before she talked with Chris and Katie, because theirs was on March 25th. So March 20th, this is Seth. Seth, you did an interview March 25th with Brian Enton from News Nation. So either way, I have a good timeline in my head about all of these interviews because I couldn't have done the polished turds without all of them, right? So if you know, then you know. All right, so she just says, I mean, I know this just seems completely surreal, right? And how do you ask a parent, a loving father, about the day that he learned that his son was missing, right? Really, really sad. Hey, Forget Me Not. Hey, Ann Brock. So, yeah. Well, and then they ended up going on Nancy Grace that same day. And I was like, oh gosh, because everybody was asking them on Smiley if they were going on Nancy. So you say, there's no words for it. I mean, when I found out that he was gone, I was like, I headed over to Katie's house, right? To me, when you say I was like, and then you pause here, to me, I was always like thinking that you were devastated, right? You're choosing your words, but you were also confused at that time, right? Because you're getting this phone call. You just got out of work. You got 911 on your phone, like, what? I mean, oh, okay. Right. And then, so when you're thinking back and answering this question for Nancy, can you recount it? You're thinking back, I was like, I just think confused, right? I headed over to Katie's house, right? And that's what you did. You went straight from work to Katie's, to see what was going on, right? And here, he's not there, right? He's not here. He's not at the house, right? When you arrive, he's still missing. They didn't find him. I don't know where he's at. You just say flat out, I don't know where he's at. I've been looking for him every day. It's just, right? and you trail off. So, yeah, I mean, that's it, Seth. It's tough, right? I mean, there's no words to describe the pain and feeling of loss. I mean, yeah, it's also got to be just so baffling, right? At first, like in the moment, it's like, what the I mean, some parents would go crazy and be like, "What do you mean? Like you lost our kid? Wait, what? What the hell's going on?" You know? So Brenda says side eye Katie without saying that in my opinion. Yeah, well, that's the thing. And I know that people here's the thing. I would probably do the same thing where you don't want to like completely be like I think they're guilty, right? But there could have been in this beginning stage where you're starting to realize that things are not adding up and that it doesn't make any sense. And so, you're trying to piece the puzzle together, right? But you also don't want to accuse people or start an argument or shut down a conversation with the other side who was the last people that was with Sebastian. So, um, yeah, Seth, I never thought I would wake up and my son would be gone. Exactly. Exactly. Nobody can ever foresee something like this ever happening. So, yeah, I agree. It is surreal. KJ Maxx says, been in the bushes while getting ready for work, changing trains. Oh, be careful on your travels. Have a question for Seth. At what point did you feel that it was more serious? I imagine at first it's a bit surreal. Yeah, it is. It's got to be. It's got to be like, what the heck is happening? Like, is this the Twilight Zone? Did you feel the seriousness of the foot's first message? You know, those are good questions, KJ Mac. So, those are really good questions. And hello, Brad. Good to see you. I don't remember if we went over it here, but some fight, flight, freeze, and appease. Remember context. Yeah, Seth just seems to talk slower. Yeah, and that's the thing. When he says, well, I'll point it out because I think it's coming up right next. But yeah, I agree too. We always have to remember the context and the baseline, right? Context of how the person talks in their baseline.
He's asked, can you recount for us when you learned Sebastian is missing? So actually the question really points to when Seth learned Sebastian is missing. And he doesn't say when in terms of giving us a day, a date, or a time, but he's recounting when. And he says, when I found out that he was gone, I was just like, I headed over to Katie's house. So he tells us exactly what he did at that moment when that happened. I'm interested here when he says, I went to Katie's house, see what was going on, which is kind of in the past, but in the present. He wanted to see what was going on at Katie's house, not what had happened, but what was going on. He really was dealing with that in the moment, almost like the message that he got just didn't register or make sense to him. So he had to go over to Katie's house to see what was occurring at that moment, not what's happened in the past, but what was happening at the moment he got there. And does he answer the question? Well, I think he does, because that very first part of the answer, there's no words for it. I mean, when I found out that he was gone, I was like, I headed over to Katie's house, see what was going on, and he's not here. So he does answer the question. The rest is extra. And when someone goes extra and says more than what is asked for in a question, there's a reason for it. It's something they want to get across quite often.
Okay, guys, and I think what he's trying to get across here, this is my, opinion and what I think was going on is that we all know that his mom's not looking for him, right? So that's the elephant in the room. That's the elephant.
With people who are on the defensive or people who are lying, that extra is a pre-prepared story, something they really want us to know, something they're comfortable talking about because they've thought about it beforehand. Here,
right, and it was a huge topic of conversation at this point. At this point, on March 20th, we were all side-eyeing Katie and saying, why are you not looking for your son, Katie? Why are you going to the bike shop? Why are you doing these weird things, right? I don't know if she exactly went to the bike shop just yet, but um maybe so, because I know that vigil was in April, or excuse me, in March too. So again, but people were questioning that, and that I do believe that that's why you see the extra, because there was an elephant in the room that we all kind of knew. Um, you know, I've been looking for him every day.
Seth's extra is, I don't know where he's at. I've been looking for him every day. It's just, and it trails off. So why has he added that extra? Well, could be that it's true. I don't, and really important to him. I don't know where he's at. I've been looking for him every day. It could be important for him to get across to everyone how he has been looking for Sebastian every single day. So he's gone extra, but it doesn't seem to be storytelling. It doesn't seem to be alibi building or anything like that. It seems to be a high priority in his head, which is he doesn't know where his son is. Here's some more from the same interview.
Seth, what have you been doing to find Sebastian?
Been handing out flyers every day. I've been on some podcasts. I've done some face-to-face interviews on the news. I'm just anything I can. I've been to the south side of Nashville. I've been to Franklin. I've been to Bellevue. I've been through Henderson. I've been through Gallatin. I've been through Clarksville. I've been through Oak Grove, Kentucky.
All right, really quick, where Seth is saying this, I'm just paying attention. Again, Seth, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to, but you can see your forehead crinkles here, and that's showing worry, right? I've been here. I'm looking for my son. Where is he? Right? You're crinkling your forehead there. You're showing concern. You look like you are showing concern. The lights are all on. When I look at Katie, the lights are not all on, especially when we compare these interviews like this. I'm not even sure anybody's home.
I mean, I'm handing out flyers, finding out. I mean, I want everybody to see my son and know that he's missing, and that if you see him, call 911. I need my son back.
The first thing I noticed, and it's the very first word of his answer, is he drops the pronoun I, which sometimes talks to us about a lack of commitment to the answer. He doesn't say I've been handing out flyers every day. He just says been handing out flyers every day, which makes me think, ooh, is there a lack of commitment there? Is that really what he's been doing because he hasn't had the pronoun I at the beginning of it? But then he talks about I all the way through. I've been on podcasts. I've done some face-to-face interviews. I'm just anything I can. I've been to places. I've been through. So he talks about I a lot there. So I think there is a lot of personal detail in.
A lot of personal detail. I, right? And he's gonna highlight him, I think. I also think that's just the way that Seth talks. So again, when we look at context, this is a good indicator, and this is what I was talking about earlier. That Seth is just very casual when he talks. So been handing out flyers every day, right? I've been doing this, I've been doing this. That's when he starts putting the I. Right. But when he was first thinking about it, Ben, that's just kind of I don't know, when you're the context or a baseline for a person, I think that's just part of that.
That answer. The full answer was been handing out flyers every day. I've been on some podcasts. I've done some face-to-face interviews on the news. I'm just anything I can. I've been to the south side of Nashville. I've been to Franklin. I've been to Bellevue. I've been through Henderson. I've been through Gatlin. I've been through Clarksville. I've been through Oak Grove, Kentucky. I mean, I've handed out flyers, finding out. I mean, I want everybody that to see my son and know that he's missing. And then if you see him, call 911. I need my son back. What I noticed there is a lot of detail on where he's been. He name checks a whole load of places in that answer. Less detail on what he's been doing to find Sebastian. How he refers to the places is very interesting. I've been to the south side of Nashville. I've been to Franklin. I've been to Bellevue. So he talks about these places as places he's been to. And then he says, I've been through Henderson. I've been through Gallatin. I've been through Clarksville. I've been through Oak Grove, Kentucky. I wonder what the difference is in his mind about going to somewhere and going through somewhere.
I think what it is, and again, this is just my opinion, right? I'm not an expert, but I'm thinking because Henderson is where Hendersonville is where Sebastian went missing from. He lives in Clarksville, right? So he goes through these places to get to the different places, right? And then through Gallatin, right? That is also another town in the mix. Um, Again, through Kentucky. Kentucky is not far. Um, been up to Franklin, Bellevue, right? So he's actually gone to these places, south side of Nashville. I think south side of Nashville is that did you guys go to like a homeless camp over there or something? Seth says you're wrong. What am I wrong about? What am I wrong about, Seth? Because I'd like to know. Or is the expert guy right where he's, pointing them out? I think I think it's me, Liberty. I think I'm waiting. Now I'm like, uh-oh, he's typing a novel. But no, that's what I was thinking, right? Because you're just driving through, right? To get home, back and forth, Hendersonville to Clarksville to Gallatin. I don't think you actually, I mean, I don't know the area well enough either. I know Goodlettsville is over there. He's wrong too. We're both wrong. Well, then freaking help us out. Help us out here. No, I mean, like I just think I think statement analysis is interesting. I don't think it's always spot on because again, there's these little things that, I mean, it could have another reason for it, right? Um, Handing out flyers, you want everyone to see that your son is missing, and then if you see him, call 911. I need my son back. And that's another one that I've seen a lot of times when you're interviewed. I just need my son back, so please call 911, drop him off. Son, if you can see this, call 911. My number's still the same. Oh, here's Seth says, no, through men, I searched these areas. Okay, been to, oh, I see. Been to men. I went, only handed out flyers at those places. I see. So like searching Hendersonville, Clarksville, Gallatin, Oak Grove. Okay, Kentucky. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I was thinking for some reason that you guys went and passed out flyers in Nashville that was like on the outskirts or um that's why I was thinking south side of Nashville. So, oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's like why well, and Chris and Katie were being grilled by in the one video by a totally different person. I mean, I would be interested to see him give us commentary on Nancy Grace and the Proud Feet, comparatively to the way that she was handling Seth on his first interview, because I think it was the first one. So, yeah, well, and I mean, I, like Seth says, of course it makes sense. Well, and I mean, I'm glad that you're here and I appreciate you clarifying that as well, right? Because I mean, that's a big difference. Um, but she says, "What have you been doing to find Sebastian?" You're naming off all of these places that you went to, right? Or searched.
Great dictionary definitions. He's actually been to those places, stopped there, and taken them in. Whereas the places he's been through, you could have just driven on the highway all the way through them, and you could say you've been through them. But potentially going through somewhere actually means you've been more rigorous. You've gone through it and done a lot more there than just the places you've been to. I don't have an answer. I don't think it's suspicious, but there's an interesting differential there between some of those places that he's been to and some of those places that he's been through. He's asked, what are you doing to find Sebastian? I said he's very detailed on where he's been, less detailed, although not no detail, but just less detailed on what he's been doing. And I think it's very clear what he's been doing is raising awareness, handing out these flyers, going on podcasts, doing interviews on the news. He's not been searching, as in out in places where Sebastian may be looking to see if he can find them. And that is not suspicious at all. In fact, the father of a missing boy probably is more useful raising awareness, going on these podcasts, going on the news where they've been invited to, rather than doing something that anyone else could have done, which is the physical searching process.
So I actually was going to make sure I said that I disagree with that part of the not searching, because I know you did, and especially in the beginning, right? Because they weren't telling you really to stick at home, wait for Sebastian, because I mean, if I don't, with no shoes, he wouldn't have made it to Clarksville. He just wouldn't have made it to Clarksville. You know, so in the very beginning, I know you were searching a lot of different places. Even not just Trace. I watched that the other day. Well, not the other day, but it's been a little while. Um, but you were doing a lot of searches, and you had people who were also searching with you and doing that as well. So you were pretty much hitting everything you could do, right? Flyers, awareness, searches, as well as, just news interviews face to face. I think when you say face to face, because Katie and Chris weren't doing that. It was very rare. I mean, we got the Only Hands interview with Caitlin Miller, right? Seth said, I had neighbors here watching out for Sebastian, and I went searching and handing out flyers, bringing all attention that I could. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, some people would just leave it up to law enforcement to search, but some people would go out and search no matter what law enforcement said, right? Which it's not like they're ordering you not to. They're pretty much just asking that someone stays home, right? And watches out. So, thank you. And Coffee Crime and Cats, good to see you. So, really, really good stuff. I think it just shows that you answered the question. That's one thing that we didn't get from Chris or Katie. They didn't answer the questions when they were asked.
He says, I've handed out flyers, finding out, and he stops that thought, and then says, I mean, I want everyone that stops that thought to see my son and know that he's missing. And I wonder what that finding out part of that is. I've handed out flyers, finding out, I mean, I want everybody that, I wonder what he's been finding out. Whatever he's been finding out, he doesn't want to tell us because he stops talking about it and starts talking about something else. And that something else is, I want people to see my son and know that he's missing. And if you see him, call 911. So he's well happy for the authorities to be involved here. He's not asking for people to come directly to him, put a note on Facebook and say, I think I've seen him or anything like that. He's asking them to call 911. No fear of the authorities there, in Seth's word. And does he answer the question, what have you been doing to find Sebastian? The vast majority of that answer states what he's been doing, the activities he's been doing, the handing out flyers, being on podcasts, interviews on the news, the places he's been, Nashville, Bellevue, Franklin, Henderson, Gallatin, Clarksville, Oak Grove, Kentucky, and handing out flyers he mentions again. So he deals, a lot of that answer deals with the question that he's been asked. He's not jumped into a story that he wants to tell, but he's listened to the question and his answer matches the question, apart from one little extra bit at the end, which is, if you see him, call 911. I need my son back. So this is the second question we've looked at from Seth, or the second answer we've looked at from Seth, and he's gone extra. And his extra is the same thing. I need my son back. And if you see him, call 911. Here's the process that will get my son back. Here's some more from Seth talking to Nancy Grace.
Tell me.
Right. And also, Seth is always putting that extra in, right? So that's what a desperate person, a parent that really wants, I mean, look, you get a small interview, you get a time slot, right? With Nancy Grace, of all people. You're going to tell people, look, I need my son back. Please call 911 if you see him. That's his extra. Both times, Seth's extra has been, please help me find my son.
Your understanding of what happened.
Katie told me that when she woke up Monday morning that he wasn't in his room and she can't find him. And I heard that once I got there. When I got off of work, I had a text message from the stepfather, Chris, and a missed phone call. And I called him and he told me that Sebastian was missing and he didn't know what had happened.
So he's asked, tell me your understanding of what happened. So tell me your understanding of what happened. And he starts with, Katie told me. So this is letting us know that his understanding, the word that he has had to take as to what has happened, isn't his personal understanding. It's what Katie told me. And later on, he says that Chris has told him that Sebastian was missing. So his knowledge, what he's saying in his words, his knowledge and his understanding of what has happened is third hand. Katie has told him something and Chris has told him something. And I think this may be significant. He doesn't have his own point of view as to what happened, or he's not expressing his own point of view as to what happened. He is passing on what other people have told him. Bit of interesting present tense. That Katie woke up on Monday morning. He wasn't, past tense, in his room, and she can't find him. She can't find him. Not past tense, she couldn't find him, but she can't find him. However, the rest of that is all as we would expect for past events in past tense. Katie told me he wasn't in his room. I heard that once I got there. When I got off work, I had a text message and I called him and he told me Sebastian was missing and he didn't know what had happened. So there's one bit of, I've said pay attention to the tenses. There's one little bit of present tense in there, but the rest really reliably in the past tense.
Yes. So I want to go back to this a little bit, right, where it's all highlighted. Okay, so we're looking at tenses, right? So this is really cool how he did this. I like the color coding. Right? So told, wasn't, heard, got, had, right? Called, happened, was, right? I think again, this is just the way that Seth talks. But Katie told me that she went, Katie told me that when she woke up Monday morning, that he wasn't in his room and she can't find him. Right. So she's telling him, I can't find him. And I think maybe that's just recall, too. And I heard that once I got there, when I got off work, I had a text message from the stepfather, Chris, and a missed phone call. And I called him and he told me that Sebastian was missing and he didn't know what had happened. Right. And then later on, we kind of find out exactly what he said and exactly what he texted. So he texted 911 and he called, right? And then when Seth called him back, he said, don't be mad, but Sebastian's missing. So, yeah, it was such a long, yeah, that was their last search. And then, they searched the Kentucky landfill, and a lot of people think it was because of the construction, the trash from the construction area. And again, they were just only flying drones over those trash cans the big dumpsters when they were on dispatch audio. So they were calling in what they were doing, and that was one of the things they did was fly the drones over top and probably still looking for a heat signature, right? And I had mentioned this when we were at the Gathering of Voices right before that officer was doing his evil deeds, right? But there still would be a bit of a heat signature left over. So I think they were flying the drones over top to see that, right? They weren't physically getting in the dumpsters to search them. And then when Jeff and Jen did their search, they were saying that there were areas that they didn't physically search, that they only flew the drones over. So again, it wasn't boots on the ground searches for everything. There were drones being used and airplanes and things like that. I'll tell you, we're coming up on April, and people say there was some warrant served in April of 25. If that's true and anything was obtained via the warrant, we will be hearing that in April. If nothing comes of it, it means nothing was obtained. Yeah, that was absolutely what is my understanding is that there was a warrant served and it was, leaked out, about October of last year. Chris couldn't help himself because it does not take that long anymore to process evidence. Right. Yeah, especially electronics. I would think they would be able to get into them and grab what they need and go over it. I mean, it does take a long time to go over all of it, but um so all that is unseen. I think that Seth went to sleep for the night, or if I may ask, the other day we walked around a smell of bleach. Oh, we were talking about a smell of bleach. Did you smell any bleach that first day? Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question. Who the heck doesn't go to a vigil for their only son? Even Candace Wells did that. Yeah, no kidding, Thomas. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Yeah, yeah. Even if someone has already passed, yep, they can still find the heat signature. Um, because I was talking to search and rescue about that, and there was a person who had taken their own life, and they like hid in like under this little like tree. Like they were covered up, and they crawled in there and did themselves in, and they found that person with the heat signature. They caught it on the drones, and then they were going back over the footage and realized that there was a spot. There was a hot spot, and they went and searched, and there the person was. So I know that it can still be there for a little while after.
One bit of, I've said, pay attention to the tenses. There's one little bit of present tense in there, but the rest really reliably in the past tense. He's asked, tell me your understanding of what happened. Does he answer the question? He tells us his understanding of what happened. Then he told us where this understanding comes from. And note that his story starts at the same time as he said previously, when he found out that Sebastian was missing, is the Monday morning. And he tells us once more the story for him starts at the same time. This can be quite significant quite often. And we saw it with Chris and Katie. When you're asked, tell us what happened, where someone starts the story is very interesting. So I'm paraphrasing slightly here, but Chris and Katie were asked what happened. And instead of starting the story on Monday, I woke up and Sebastian wasn't there. They started telling a story about the Sunday. Sunday was a great day. They had lots of fun. And then they came home and Sebastian went to bed. And then the next morning he was missing. And I asked, why did they start the story way, way back? Why does the story not start when they think Sebastian, when, in their words, when they found Sebastian was missing? Here, Seth, reliable. His story starts at the same time, and that's the communication from Chris.
Okay, guys. Seth, reliable. Seth equals reliable. No, Sandy, I was just talking about a search and rescue team that for Devlin was telling me different ways that their drones work and things like that, and was explaining that story to me, just saying, there was a time where we were able to still find someone with the heat drones that had, expired recently. So, oh, really, Liberty? She says Duty Ron had that guy from Equisearch on talking about their drones. Okay, interesting. I think that's so interesting, right? That's the kind of stuff that I like to know because, um, it just gives us a better understanding. So, exactly. Forget the searches. The interrogation needs to happen. I think that they need to be run simultaneously. Absolutely have to be run simultaneously. You got a group doing this, and then and there were so many people. That's the thing too that's really such a missed opportunity, is there were so many people that wanted to help Holly. I mean, they just wanted to go out there and look. And it's just, it's sad. It's really, really sad. The drones, yeah, belong to EquiSearch. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Catherine. And I know they have like even, underwater drones and stuff like that too. So it's just interesting what they can do and where they can search where, it makes it um, to where the person doesn't have to go because I mean those in Tennessee those woods are very unforgiving. She wants to emphasize she's a good mom who gave her son a big send off allegedly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, all those unseen. But I did hear about people alleging that they had professional cleaners and, you know. I don't think so. Coffee Crime and Cat says, did anyone see what the Cajun Navy had proposed for the Nancy Guthrie case? It would have been the most thorough search I've seen. The sheriff poo-pooed it, of course, and they would have been great there. Oh, I didn't know that. A lot of people are not for nanos or nano or whatever his name is. Yeah. I didn't see that though. That's interesting. Coffee Crime and Cats. I don't understand why you would ever turn down help from a big search organization ever. I mean, the more the merrier on that, right? I mean, geez. So, story starts at the same time, right? Katie told me that when she woke up on Monday morning that he wasn't in his room and she can't find him. And I heard that once I got there. When I got off of work, I had a text message from the stepfather, Chris, and missed the phone call. And I called him and he told me that Sebastian was missing and he didn't know what happened, right? That's where we're leaving off.
Chris to say that Sebastian is missing. He does answer the question, but he doesn't know what happened. He doesn't say, I don't know what happened. He does say that Chris told him he doesn't know what happened. He really doesn't know for sure, for certain, what happened in his answer there. Nancy continues with another question.
So, Seth, what time did you get to the home that day?
I got the message at about 7:20. I was there at about 8 o'clock.
So immediately, when you got to the home, tell me about the state of the home.
The home was clean. I mean, it looked like it normally did when I walked in.
So were there any signs of forced entry at the front or back door or on Sebastian's window that you could observe?
No, there was none.
Was anything stolen from the home?
Not that I was informed of.
I talk about extra in answers so much. When someone says more than they were asked and goes into more detail than they were asked or touches on topics that they weren't asked about, it can be extremely revealing as to what that person's game is when they're talking. And if you look at the first couple of questions there, the replies are so straightforward. What time did you get to the home that day? I got the message at about 7:20. I was there about 8 o'clock. Now, I know he wasn't asked what time he got the message, but this is his way of working it out. If I got the message at 7:20 and it takes me roughly 35, 40 minutes, it would be about 8 o'clock by the time I got there. Very straightforward answer. When you got to the home, tell me about the state of the home. The home was clean. I mean, it looked like it normally did when I walked in. So there's no agenda in Seth's answers here. There's no attempt to persuade us of something or to bring in new topics that he wasn't asked about. He's just listening to the questions Nancy asks and giving her the information that she requires and nothing extra.
Okay, guys, and that's one thing that Seth has always been, in my opinion, is straightforward. Nancy asked, what time did you get to the home that day? I got the message about 7:20. I was there about 8 o'clock, right? Got off work, got the message, drove there straight away. When you got to the home, tell me about the state of the home. The home was clean. I mean, it looked like it normally did when I walked in. Nothing was amiss, according to Seth. Hey, Jilly. Nothing was amiss, right? And the home was clean. Now, the smell of bleach, I don't know, but I do think that he's basically, if it smelled like bleach, he might have said something then, or maybe that was just a detail shared with LE if that happened. So let's move forward here.
Listening to the questions Nancy asks and giving her the information that she requires and nothing extra. That continues. Were there any signs of forced entry at the front or the back door or on Sebastian's window that you could observe? This is a perfect answer. It's a yes/no question. Were there any signs of forced entry? Yes, there were. No, there weren't. He says, no, there was none. And then this is the most interesting part of that section. Was anything stolen from the home? And he says, not that I was informed of. Once more, he's not answering for certainty. He's saying, not that I was informed of. And I think this may be indicative that he doesn't trust the words of Kate and Chris. I'm not saying something was stolen from the home. I'm not saying they're lying about what was anything being stolen from the home. I just think that he is taking what they're saying around all of this with a pinch of salt.
Yep, he doesn't believe them. So you guys were asking about when he thought he knew something was not right. I think it was fairly early on, and I think Seth has answered that question a bunch of different times, in many different ways, right? Because there were things when he walked in the door that were maybe not, I mean, especially with the shoes, right? When his shoes are still at the, and his shoes are gone. If his shoes are gone, then that's one thing that you would notice and you'd say, okay, well, he had shoes on. If not, you might think, well, he went barefoot, something like that. When you're just first coming into the home, assessing the situation. And Sen, yeah, so Sebastian's phone was plugged in on the kitchen counter. So there wouldn't be a reason to call his phone because he wouldn't answer it. And that's information that's been out there for a very long time and also confirmed by law enforcement.
And he doesn't want to stand up and say he believes what they told him, say for a fact things that he's heard from them, because he's not entirely sure that he's hearing the truth from Katie and Chris.
I'm trying to understand. That morning, your wife calls you, your ex calls you.
Okay, so I don't know about you guys. This person is asking, did he personally check the windows himself? I don't think that anyone in their right mind would do something like that, especially because it's not their home. Law enforcement was on the scene when he got there. So I don't know if you're trying to like troll or if you're being serious. Because I mean, if I went to my ex-husband's house and just started messing with his windows, I'm sure he would probably ask me to sit down, right? Because that's that's a little overboard in my opinion. So
About 7:20 a.m. Would that have been on a school day?
No, it was her husband that called me.
Okay. Was that at 7:20 a.m.?
No, 7:20 a.m. is when I got to my vehicle because I got off of work at 7. My shift ended at 7. By the time I found out to make sure that I didn't have to stay over or anything, then I got to my truck about 7:20. And they had texted me and tried to call me on my cell phone at around 6:20.
And you found out about it at 7:20. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Rogers, did he go missing on a school day?
From my understanding, she put him to bed Sunday night, and yes, Monday morning he's missing.
Now, this is more interesting. Nancy says, I'm trying to understand that morning. Your ex calls about 7:20. Would that have been on a school day? And he corrects her that it wasn't his ex that called. So he doesn't answer the question, but he is making a correction, because if he answered the question, then potentially he would be answering a question that's based on falseness. No, it was her husband that called me. Nancy says, okay, was that at 7:20 a.m.? And he says no. So it's a yes, no question. And he answers with no. And then he goes on to tell events of how this all transpired. 7:20 a.m. is when I got to my vehicle because I got off work at 7. My shift ended at 7. By the time I found out to make sure that I didn't have to stay over or anything. Then I got to my truck about 7:20, and they had texted me and tried to call me on my cell phone at around 6:20. So this is really linear in the telling of it. He tells the 7:20 was when he finished. When he got to his vehicle, and he goes back to explain why that is. I get off work at 7, my shift ends at 7. I have to hang around a bit to make sure that I don't have to stay over to do an extended shift. Got to my truck and realized that I had phone calls from previously that I didn't know about before. They tried to call me at around 6:20. It's very linear in telling, and once more, it's really consistent timing with everything.
All right, so linear and consistent in the timing is what this person is saying, and I agree with Jack Fox here. I do. That's how Seth has been from the beginning, and that's why people found him to be more believable, right? Or when they're looking compared to what Chris and Katie are doing, Seth is acting normal, he's acting coherent, he's acting like a concerned parent. With Chris and Katie, she's doing this whole bit. She's all over the place. You think she might have a bug in her pants, right? Ants in her pants. What are you doing, Katie? Right? And then Chris is over there chuckling. They're making fun of Sebastian. Ooh. And they took that part out. He didn't even analyze that piece of the interview, by the way, now that I think about it. Because I would have really liked to have heard what he thought about that. All that madness, But we have a father who is concerned, who is acting mature in the situation, linear. Nancy says, I'm trying to understand that morning. Your ex calls at about 7:20 a.m. Would that have been a school day? Right? So those are, that again, compound questions that don't even match up at all from Nancy, right? Your ex calls you about 7 a.m. Would that have been a school day? Right? Yeah, Monday's a school day. But other than that, he said, no, that's not what I said. It was her husband that called me, the stepfather, right? So again, and sometimes because Nancy's a prosecutor, she might ask the same question in a different way. So she says, okay, that was about 7:20 a.m. And he says, no, 7:20 a.m. is when I got to my vehicle because I got off of work at 7, right? My shift ended at 7. By the time I found out if I needed to by the time I found out to make sure that I didn't have to stay over or anything, I just got in my truck at about 7:20, and then he texted me, meaning Chris Proudfoot texted him and tried to call him on his cell phone around 6:20. Around 6:20 a.m., he gets the phone call. Right? Don't be mad, Sebastian's missing. Right? So, my first question would probably be like, did he take a phone? What do you mean he's missing? Anything like that, right? Any of those things. But again, he's confirmed this linear timeline, straightforward, no jiggling around in his seat, no acting a fool. So, in my opinion, he did the right thing. He did exactly what he was supposed to do, right? And is just drive right to the house. So don't try to put it on Seth that he did anything wrong. Put yourself in his shoes for 5 seconds and think about how you would feel if you got off of work and all this shit was going on. 911, don't be mad, your kid's missing. Please spare me. Don't make me play the Dr. Phil troll.
That he said before. Nancy says, and you found out about it at 7:20. Is that correct? He says, yes, ma'am. Wow, that's so straightforward. Okay, Mr. Rogers, did he go missing on a school day? And this answer is less straightforward. He says, from my understanding, she put him to bed on Sunday. She put him to bed Sunday night, and yes, Monday morning he's missing. So, okay, Mr. Rogers, Did he go missing on a school day? Number one, that's a yes/no question. Yes, he did. It was Monday. No, he didn't. It was Sunday. However you want to phrase it. Yes is the correct answer to this. Okay, Mr. Rogers, did he go missing on a school day? Yes, ma'am. It was Monday. He could have said, but he doesn't. He gives a long answer to a very easy question. Did he go missing on a school day? From my understanding, she put him to bed Sunday night, and yes, Monday morning, he's missing. Why does he bring Sunday night into it as well? Does he know more, or is he like us? Maybe just like me, suspects that something happened on that Sunday night that caused Sebastian to go missing. Does he have questions about what happened on that Sunday night? Because when he's asked, when did Sebastian go missing? The first thing that he mentions is the Sunday night, and then Monday morning, he's missing. It's a long answer to a very easy question.
Right. And, I think he also didn't answer her question from before. And then she was verifying and asking him the same questions or to repeat himself. And so he had to kind of clarify it. Right. But again, from my understanding, she put him to bed at Sunday night. And yes, Monday morning, he's missing. Right. So he also didn't, really say, yes, it's a school day. He said it's Monday morning. That's when he went missing. Right, because all he knows from Katie's point of view is that she put him to bed on Sunday night, and then Monday morning he's missing, right? So he's very unsure, and I think any of us parents would be like, "This shit does not add up. Not with my kid. Not when you're responsible for our child." And Glock says Katie was foul and Chris was out of his lane by calling Seth. I agree. CP, he's the big man in charge, in my opinion. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll call Seth. Let me handle it, when he's really not doing any favors to anyone. I think she purposely did not allow him to take his phone to dinner that night. I mean, that's the thing too, Holly. He didn't even have his phone that night. He couldn't even play the game on the table. He had no electronics whatsoever. It's at home. What do you need it for? You can't do anything on it. It's completely locked down. Chris says that when we say we lock it down, we lock it down. That's what he said, right? He doesn't half-ass it. It's another thing Chris likes to brag. I'll never half-ass anything. Well, bullshit, you don't. You half-assed this one, didn't you? You half-assed parenting, in my opinion. Oh, I removed my comment because I got 620 and 720 messed up. Yeah. Well, 620 apparently was when the first call and text came in. So Chris texted Seth at 620 on or around 911, right? And called. He called and then he texted 911. So when Seth gets his phone at 720, when he gets down to his truck, he realizes that he's got a 911 text, and then he calls Crispy back. Peace, Love, and Jeep says, in my opinion, Katie would have if she were to have a conversation with Seth. That's why it's not happening. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think she would definitely cave if Seth was asking her questions face to face alone. I believe she would too. There would be strong indications. Look, I had someone on my panel that told me that when she asked Katie, "Where's Sebastian?" she turned bright red and Chris came to the rescue. That's just some person off the street that Katie had that effect on Katie. Right? Think about if it was Seth, who's known her. I think she'd crack. Katie is not as tough as she portrays herself to be. Why didn't Chris ask Seth if he'd heard from Sebastian instead of saying, "Don't be mad"? Exactly, Lover Girl. That's a better question than, "Oh, did Seth call?" No, he's on the phone with an idiot telling him not to be mad because my son is missing. Right? No. Yeah, I believe that too. And Glock says Katie was scared to call Seth with a lie. Seth is a good-hearted person with a good heart. Yeah, I agree with that too. I would have put Chris and Katie in one of those retention bonds. That's how he called Seth was very disrespectful. Yeah, and I mean Seth shows incredible strength and resilience, but also a great amount of you know, he holds himself because we can't forget that when he gets there and Chris is there, he tells Chris or Chris tells him, "What are you going to do if this goes south?" That's the time where I would have lost my shit completely, right? And then I would have been like, "Okay, now I'm in trouble." Because I wouldn't have shown that type of restraint. I just wouldn't have, especially not with that comment. You mean to tell me that I just worked a whole night of work, right? And by the way, for those who don't know this, Seth was at work as a corrections officer, so he was in jail, prison, whatever you want to call it. He's a corrections officer. So he was there all night, you know? So, oh, she got bright red, Catherine. According to my panel guest, she got bright red. And Chris, oh, what's the matter, Katie? Somebody ask you the hardball questions? You know? Unbelievable. Lady, do you think that Seth is holding out to see if Sebastian comes back at 18 like CP has stated, and maybe that's why he hasn't pressed charges on CP and KP? I would have done this by now, in my opinion. You know, you mean like in a civil, like, do you mean like civilly, like in civil court? Because I know that did work out well when like the Petitos brought the laundries in that way. Um, Thomas says Katie has never mentioned once that Sebastian was overstimulated, either from all the running around that day, which he would have been for sure, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, she doesn't talk about the bedtime routine or getting ready for school in the morning either. And again, I wonder if that's why Nancy is harping on this. Was he, was it a school night? Was it a school night? Was it a school day? Was it blah? Yeah, it was. It was a Sunday night into Monday morning, right? And again, too, Nancy's trying to kind of ask him questions to see if he's being honest. Also, this is the first interview I think that he did with Nancy Grace. So she's kind of in discovery phase.
Even more interesting is the fact that once more, he's not taking Chris and Katie's words as gospel and passing it on as fact. He's qualifying it. So when did Sebastian go missing? He's not saying this is when it happened. He's telling us what his understanding is of it. From my understanding, she put him to bed Sunday night. And yes, Monday morning, he's missing. So we do have a yes in there for did he go missing on a school day? But for some reason, he's telling us that what he's been told that Sebastian was put to bed on Sunday night, and then on the Monday morning he's missing. I think he has questions about what happened on the Sunday night too. More from Nancy now.
Seth, when was the last time you can verify that he was alive and well?
When I talked to him on Thursday.
Simple question, simple answer. When was the last time you can verify that he was alive and well? When I talked to him on Thursday. Such a clean, clear answer.
Right. Such a clean and clear answer. Straight to the point. This is what many of us were so glad to hear from at least one of the parents, right? Because we have Chris and Katie acting a fool, playing around. It's like pulling teeth, right? When I told him to go to bed, he did, all that stupid shit. But with Seth, she says, when was the last time that you can verify that he was alive and well? When I talked to him on Thursday. Well, hallelujah. At least we have one parent that can answer a question. Clear, concise, consistent. It is what it is. But Chris and Katie are constantly looking over their shoulder to see, oh, why are you asking me that? Oh, no, it's because they're guilty, in my opinion, or they wouldn't be him and Han and doing the hokey pokey. Meaning just finding someone to do it or financially. Oh, sorry guys, I probably missed something there. I just think it's going to be tough in that area too. But I mean, as in a civil matter, again, that's how they got the laundries to talk. No, they don't. Peace, love, and Jeeps. They don't. They don't. They never give a straightforward answer. I agree. It's always do the hokey pokey, and we're still left like, I'm confused. And then stupid ass Chris, let me help you out. It's like, no, please don't.
Nothing extra, no attempt to convince us of anything, no attempt to persuade us of anything there. A very straightforward, very direct answer.
Seth Rogers, have you been asked to take a polygraph?
No.
Would you be willing to take a polygraph?
I volunteered.
What did you think of that? Seth Rogers, have you been asked to take a polygraph? No. Would you be willing to take a polygraph? I volunteered. These are yes, no questions. Both of them can be answered with yes or no. Seth Rogers, have you been asked to take a polygraph? No. Straightforward, very believable type of answer. Would you be willing to take a polygraph? And he doesn't say, yes, I would, or no, I wouldn't. He says, I volunteered. So.
Right, because here's the thing. So, none of them, in my opinion, in the beginning were asked to take a polygraph. Because, again, Sheriff Snuggle Struggles and the rest of them were operating under the assumption that Sebastian walked off on his own. So why would that require a polygraph test for the parents? If that's what they believe, that Sebastian ran away, no shoes, no money, no coat, no cell phone, no nothing. Right? I mean, again, they weren't asking for that, I don't believe. Would you be willing to take a polygraph? She asked Seth. And he goes, well, I volunteered to take one. Right. So maybe he wasn't finished either, because Nancy can do that. She kind of, rolls over people and talks over and, you know what I mean? So I do believe that Seth asked to take a polygraph. That's what many of us would do in order for the police to clear us as a suspect, so they're not looking at us, right? Because we all know we go from the inside, right, outwards. Everybody in the family, and then the friends, and then the close circle, right? You go in that person's like sphere of influence, right? You're going into everybody that's been around that person, who has had access to that person, because you're trying to find the opportunity. Who had the opportunity to do this? Who had the means and the motive, right? But you're also looking for that piece, opportunity. Who could have possibly done this if they had access? Who were they? And again, Seth did end up taking a polygraph with Nancy Grace. So there's no way Chris should be. Oh, there's no way Chris should have been going. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Can't read today. There's no way Chris should have been doing all the talking when he wasn't there. His word would be hearsay in court. Yeah, absolutely. And Chris was doing a lot of the talking and kind of cleaning up for Katie, or he would answer a question when it was really directed at her. Nancy Grace did a good job, because she'd say, to Mr. Proudfoot, to Miss Proudfoot, if she was wanting one or the other to answer. But I agree. And he's never acted like he wasn't there. When he talks, he's always saying we. Especially in the beginning, when they were, just getting their stories straight, in my opinion. He was probably acting out at bedtime due to the overstimulation. Yeah, well, and I mean, I think he was already in trouble at the restaurant, just based on the way Katie's body language is in these photos. I know I have um, the other screen up right now, but yeah, there's several screenshots that I got from the video that, I mean, she's pointing towards him. I'm a mom. I have had a mom that's, I've been in trouble with my mom, and she's definitely scolding him. So I think so too, lover girl. Yeah, this case has been handled so ridiculously by law enforcement. Shaking my head, really, because there was so many missed opportunities. They could have done such a better job and not only operating off of one assumption. Um, yeah, I think so too. Andrea says, I think, in my opinion, whatever happened was planned in advance. I think it was definitely premeditated for a while, and that's why I really want to focus in on too, like the couple of years, well, the year and say a year and a half where things were going really, really bad. CPS was being called. There was, a marriage on the rocks. All of that, I think, is the big snowball effect for what ended up happening ultimately, and then them blaming their situation, or even what was going on in their relationship, on Sebastian. And let's not forget Faith, right? It was like, okay, get rid of Sebastian, send him to a school, send him to his dad's, because we're trying to get Faith. I'm willing to bet Sebastian never went to that house. That's why all the pictures were taken at the roadhouse. Yeah, I mean, that's, and Glock, a lot of people think that Sebastian never made it home. So that's kind of like one of the forks in the road for me. It's like, okay, well, so a lot of us think he did. I think we're like 50-50 ish on it. Um, I have that poll up. Let's see what the night crew thinks. Oh, did I close that window? Okay, maybe I closed that window. Hold on, let me take a look and see where we're at with the poll. Because, I think it's interesting, and I do want to know what you all think about it, because um, it's important to, yeah, we're 45-55. No, he didn't make it home. 45%. 55% are saying yes. So, yeah, that's really, really interesting. Oh, and I forgot, I added a third option. Hello. I did add a third option. Let me see here. How do I get to see that? Okay, so 26% unsure, and then we have 45 are saying no, he didn't make it home, and 26%, excuse me, 29% is a yes. Yes, he made it home, 29, no is 45, and unsure is 26. So, wow, very interesting. And we have 138 votes tonight. Oh my gosh, all our voters are at night. Night court gets the most votes. All right, well, that's interesting. That is very, very interesting. I would like to see, I need to get back with the results, because I didn't give an option for the I'm not sure last time, today, earlier. So
I'm interested there. Would he be willing to take a polygraph? He's volunteered to do it in his own words, but he didn't say yes straight away. He just said, I volunteered. He's a need to persuade us that not just he would be willing to take a polygraph, he was in front of this and has volunteered to take a polygraph. I don't know. Very interesting. I don't know why he didn't just say yes there. So far, he's been really straightforward. He's directly answered most of the questions that he's been asked. He hasn't gone extra on a lot of things, but on the polygraph question, he claims, I volunteered. What you think so far? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget, if you want more episodes.
Okay, guys, definitely go up and sub up over here to Never a Truer Word. Jack Fox, really interesting, fresh commentary, right? Not anyone who's too far into the case or biased or anything like that. So I like that, right? Hey, Debbie, good to see you. And thank you so much. Thanks, guys, for hitting the like button. You guys were almost at 100%. You guys are amazing. I really, really appreciate that so very, very much. Thank you, guys. But yeah, I think this is a great channel to kind of take a listen to. And, there's things that I've never brought up that he is. So
button. It really helps get the word out on the content that we do here. Here's some more of Nancy talking to Seth
on Nancy's
Rogers.
face.
I know he was alive and well, say at 3:30 on Friday afternoon. Who saw him other than the parents from that afternoon, 3:30-ish, till we find out he's missing on Monday morning?
I don't know who else.
Seth. So I don't have
know.
any proof of life between Friday afternoon and Monday morning.
Okay, so I forgot about this until we're watching it here. So remember the buzz around proof of life. There was like all this chatter, right? Everybody's chatting, oh my gosh, proof of life. When's proof of life? We don't know. We don't know. When did Sebastian? I mean, we're still talking about it in the poll to this day. Do you think Sebastian Rogers made it home? Do you? Or no, And we have a lot of people weighing in. Thank you for that again. But, Nancy's like sitting here, look at her face. She's like, wait a minute, excuse me, but no. You're telling me that we do not have anything about Friday, Saturday, or Sunday that we can prove, right? Just this. Oh, this boy just vanished. No, he did not. We do not vanish unless somebody vanishes us. By the way, so Nancy is not having it. She's like, no, right? And look at Seth. He's like, I mean, wait a minute, proof of life. And another thing too, you don't get some sort of like what is supposed to be proper protocol for this, that, and whatever, it's like a whirlwind and you're in the middle of all of it too. So navigating through it isn't going to be the easiest thing, right? And I mean, look at Seth's face, you guys. Even the bags under his eyes, he's tired. Again, the forehead wrinkles, I mean, he just looks like a father, like, where is my son?
I haven't been informed of anything. My only proof of life would be Katie, his mom.
Nancy asks, I know he was alive and well, say, at 3:30 on Friday afternoon. Who saw him other than the parents from that afternoon? 3:30-ish till we find out he's missing on Monday morning. And there's a huge, huge long pause while he thinks about his answer to this question. So he doesn't have a prepared answer. He doesn't just jump in by saying things and, that maybe don't even directly reference the question. He just pauses, thinks, what is it I'm going to say? And he says, I don't know who else. Now, truthful people have not one problem saying the phrase, I don't know.
Wow. So that's a very interesting little piece here. So he's saying that when people are being truthful, typically they don't have a problem saying, I don't know. Right. And Seth, that's the look that Seth is portraying to me, is like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Right. So again, and I think too, it occurs to Seth, and this is again just my opinion, but I think it starts to occur to Seth, like, wait a minute, I haven't really been showed any proof that Sebastian, when was the last time he was seen publicly? And that's another thing that in these cases, that's what law enforcement minded people are thinking, right? In that way, a detective would say, well, when's the last time we have absolute proof? I'm not asking about the mother because we know we can't trust her. I'm not asking about the stepfather because he could be in on it. The father, okay, he was working. So when was the last time other people saw this boy? Right? I mean, it's just part of it. And he like thinks, and then I don't know who else.
You'll find that in so many truthful people. They don't mind saying, I don't know this. And that's what Seth does here. He says, I don't know. Liars, deceivers, people that are hiding something feel a need to fill a gap. So rather than saying, I don't know, they will give you an answer that infers something or says something because they hate I don't know. It's almost like a failure of the lie, isn't it? Or a failure of the deception. If you have to say, I don't know, because we do think maybe it lacks confidence, maybe it lacks certainty. Well, he does lack certainty because he doesn't know and he's not afraid to say, I don't know. Nancy says, so I don't have any proof of between Friday afternoon and Monday morning. And he says, I haven't been informed of anything. My only proof would be from Katie, his mum. So we've got that concept again of I haven't been informed of anything. So, like, does he feel he's been kept in the dark? Does he feel that people should be talking to him more? Or is it that he feels that things are being hidden from him? That's the feeling I got when I analyzed the words of Chris and Katie, that they were hiding things, they were concealing things, they weren't telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Exactly. They were not being truthful. And again, when people want to ask Seth this question, right? Like, when did you start feeling this? He's feeling it very early on, guys. It's just that, you also have to be careful of saying, well, 100% either way. But in the same way, yeah, he's saying just from what his mom, my only proof is like what excuse me, my only proof of life would be Katie, his mom, right? What she's told me. To me, that's showing also uncertainty about what he's being told very early on. And then also, Seth said himself when he was in front of the police department the first time, protesting or demonstrating or, doing a gathering, um, he said, day 50, I knew that there was corruption. I was convinced at that point, right? But I mean, everything adding up, I think, brought him to that conclusion. But again, we're at March 20th. This is aired, so it could have happened on March 19th or, the 20th. I'm not sure how long it took to get it uploaded and all that and edited. But again, he's saying my only proof of life would be his mom. And that's who I'm going off of to know about proof of life. But I haven't been shown my son on camera, you know? How horrible. And shame on you, law enforcement.
And I wonder if that's what Seth has picked up on, whether he's noticed holes in the story or whether he just has this sixth sense that this doesn't all ring true. But certainly, once more, he is not able to talk with certainty and even say he believes the things that Chris and Katie are saying. He says, I haven't been informed of anything. My only proof would be from Katie, his mom. Interestingly, not Chris brought into this, just Katie, his mom. So I think he's got real questions about what happened.
Could you tell me the level of the severity of his autism?
He's very intelligent. He's very smart. He just lacks social skills and reading of people's body language. He likes things to be in a routine. He likes to control his environment.
So this is Seth talking about the autism of Sebastian. He's asked, could you tell me the level of severity of his autism? And he says he's very intelligent. He's very smart. He just lacks social skills and the reading of people's body language. He likes to be in a routine. He likes to control his environment. First thing here I've got is that everything is in present tense. He's very intelligent. He's very smart. Lacks social skills. Likes things to be in a routine, likes to control his environment. So,
okay, guys, so all in present tense, we're good there. But I also want to point out that Seth starts with positive things, but also because Sebastian might be out there, he talks about social skills, right? And reading of people's body language. So I think that that's important for people to know if they saw Sebastian out, if somebody sees him, that's important for them to know that. And then also, this portrayal that we got of Sebastian playing with the shiny pennies and he's always fidgeting, those were behaviors I think too that were happening when Sebastian was younger that he was kind of growing out of. But he was still having issues, especially because I mean, I think any of us as we're getting older, we are learning to read people's body language and to read the social cues and that sort of thing too. So I mean that can also be something with coming of age, but it is a major issue for people who are on the spectrum. They do also like to be in a routine, and they like to feel like they're in control of their environment because it makes them feel safe. And again, to be quite honest, I think all of us would like to be in control of our own environment, right? Because that makes us more comfortable. Um, if we feel like we're not in control of things, it can be a high anxiety situation. Not to the point where Chris likes to be in control of things, but just knowing that, you know, you're it's not chaotic, right? He doesn't enjoy chaos. Um, And Glock says when it hits the fan, they really need to arrest Steve Fisher for accessory after the fact. Yeah, I mean, he's been doing a lot to hinder this, especially with the footage, from Chris Carr's camera. If he has that and law enforcement doesn't, that's a really big deal. All the misinformation he's putting out, I agree. And he should have lost his license. He went bad. Oh yeah, he did really, really bad in Kylie Rodney. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of cases, and then also the David case as well was another one that he was doing a whole bunch of fuckery in that case. He really was. He was just, left and right. Again, he's yeah, he's a real turd himself because Sebastian was not there to take out the trash, but oh, okay, Liberty, I think I missed one. Oh, here's also one. Let me see. I don't think there would have just been a dark shadow taking out the trash. No, I don't think so either. Well, I think they blacked the house out, so that they couldn't get as good of camera, footage and things like that. Women's Warrior says, in my opinion, he looked like he just been punched in the gut. Like I never thought about it. When was he seen last? It looked painful. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and again, with the proof of life stuff, it's hard to put yourself in that as a parent because you want to believe that your child is out there. So even putting that yourself in that position, proof of life, what does that mean? That is a sinking feeling. Absolutely, woman's warrior. It is a sinking feeling to know that you're trying to find last proof of life. Well, what is that? What do you mean? But, what if my son's still out there kind of a thing? I mean, very painful. Liberty says, in my opinion, that was Katie, and she tried to mimic how Sebastian walks and put her hood over her head. Very possible, because I did hear of him using the hoodie. Or it was said that the person that took the trash out was wearing one. We'll put it that way. I think that fits a little bit better. And Glock says when it hits the fan. Oh, sorry, I read that one already. And Liberty says because Sebastian was not there to take up the trash, but to make it look like he was. She did that, in my opinion. Yeah, I can see her trying to do something like that. Absolutely. You know, um, Debbie thinks so too. Yeah. Andrea says that's a good theory. Yeah. Debbie says it's weird Chris saying this case will be talked about for years. Oh, I know. And I didn't think it was going to get this far. So, yeah. Yeah, and I do think Glock that Seth was trying to be non-confrontational with them at first. He's trying to work together with them, and then Chris come into the vigil, "Oh, you better tell everybody we're working together." And then, we all knew how that one probably was going to turn out, but I think a lot of us were like, "Hey, we're going to support Seth with whatever he needs or asks of us to do." And lo and behold, they weren't fun to work with. They didn't give him any answers. It was just a complete, again, hokey pokey, pulling teeth, you know, um, just a fucking circus, in my opinion. Women's Warrior says Seth has been amazing throughout all of this, and I have never seen such strength, especially with some of the absolutely disgusting things people who have said, or what people have said and done, unforgivable things. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I agree. I agree. And he's shown a lot of restraint.
The answer there is in the present tense. 3 weeks after Sebastian went missing, Seth is talking about him in the present tense. A very good, very reassuring sign. And when he's asked about the severity of his autism, he goes to the positives of autism, or Sebastian's autism. He's very intelligent. He's very smart. He talks about Sebastian's autism in the benefits that autism brings to Sebastian's life. He's very intelligent. He's very smart. Then he goes to a negative. He lacks social skills in the reading of people's body language. It's fair enough. It's just truthful and honest. And then he talks about some more of the way that the autism shows up through Sebastian. He likes things to be in a routine and he likes to control his environment. So instead of seeing these as a negative, which we could, everything's got to be a routine with him, otherwise he's not happy. And if he can't control his environment, then he gets really grumpy or upset. No, he talks about it through knowing the way that Sebastian likes to be in. That suggests he's empathetic with Sebastian. He knows what Sebastian likes. He knows the way Sebastian likes things. And if we get things that we like, we get happy. So when he's asked about Sebastian's autism, he talks in very positive terms about him being intelligent and smart, and then talks about what Sebastian likes. I think this is someone who liked to make Sebastian happy by working with him so that things were in the routine, so the environment was able to be controlled by Sebastian.
Right. And because Seth has unconditional love for his son. It's all about the unconditional love a parent has for their child. Yes, he has challenges, as we all do, right? But I'm not going to bash him for things that he can't control, right? Or the challenges that he's having. It's just some of the challenges that he has. We see a completely different view of things when Chris and Katie are saying it. And Liberty, you're spot on. If you listen to the dispatch, none of that LE searching knew what Sebastian even looked like. They did not have a photo of him. Another thing that was shoddy about that too is that they were in fact telling everyone, someone did, that Sebastian was wearing all black, that he was wearing a black sweatshirt and black sweatpants as a sweatsuit, right? As some of us older people would call it, right? We wear sweatpants and a big, sweatshirt, and it's a set that matches or whatever. That's what I'm picturing, black and black, right? But then Chris comes around and says, no, it was black pants with the stripes down the side and a long sleeve black shirt, not a sweatshirt, not a sweatsuit, right? But then they also change it that morning on the dispatch, because I always wonder how that got all muddied up. But that's how it was, because someone that called it in said that that's what Sebastian was wearing. And how would Chris know if he wasn't even there? But no, Liberty, they didn't know. They didn't know who they were even looking for. They did not have a photo. And I believe it took them a good hour or two before they asked for one, because they most certainly did ask for one at a certain point.
So that Sebastian was happy and settled. Compare that answer that Seth has given there with Katie and Chris when they were asked a very similar question. As far as his way of thinking of things, and maybe how determined he was about certain things or his mindset, Katie says Chris said he's got a stubborn mindset. If he believes it's this, Katie, he gets on a one-man track and he's just on it and he's all about it. Then Chris says, but I mean, he's very smart. He can play chess. He can beat adults in chess. He loves playing games. So the first thing that they went to was Sebastian's stubbornness and the fact that he can get on a one-way track of thinking and it's very hard to get him out of it. So they started with perceived negatives of Sebastian's behavior and then brought in the positives of he's very smart. But it's a very, very different way of talking about the autism. You'll notice as well between Chris and Katie, slightly different. Katie says he loves playing games. So she does talk about what makes Sebastian happy. He loves playing games. Chris talks about his ability. He can play chess. Not he loves to play chess or he really likes playing chess or he enjoys playing chess. He can play chess. So he talks about the ability that he has. It's a very
Yeah, and he also it kind of ticked me off when he did that too. Like as in, oh, you should see him, you know what I mean? Like he's like some sort of an anomaly or something like that. Not that he really enjoys it or he's great at playing it, right? It's something that he really enjoys and he's great at it. It's not a regular parent who again has unconditional love and wants nothing more for their child to be happy and well adjusted. No. Oh, he's got a stubborn mindset, right? And he's just on it, and all this crazy shit. Again, immature. And Peace, Love, and Jeep says the audacity of Katie to say people had the wrong impression of Sebastian early on. Why is that, Katie? It was because she and Chris painted him as a totally different person. And I agree with that. None of us really knew who we were looking for at first, did we? I mean, we knew of the picture of Sebastian. We knew that his teachers were saying something completely different than what they were saying, right? You can't tell that Sebastian's autistic if you see him. If you see him out walking, you wouldn't be able to tell, right? They weren't saying that. They were saying that, he was someone who had a lot of issues that would indicate that something was quote unquote wrong with Sebastian. And I even posted one of the clips of Chris himself saying that. Something was wrong with him. I mean, no, I've never ever looked at Sebastian and thought, oh, I think something's wrong with him. I have, however, looked at you, Chris, a million times and thought to myself, what the hell is wrong with him? Englock says, I would have thought law enforcement would have been more on Seth's side because he's one of them. Yeah, I talked about that really early on and just a couple of times here that I always found that to be weird too. Not that that's a good thing because I think we all deserve, if it's a kid or if it's our kid, if it's a cop's kid, if it's anybody's kid, or if it's a law enforcement of any kind. But I know what you're saying because typically that's what we've seen historically and we just kind of know that's how it is. When something happens to a cop's family, there's no stopping them. Exactly. I mean, it definitely crossed my mind several times and it's one thing that I don't understand completely, but then as we've gone along, Hendersonville and Davidson County have beef, and also, or excuse me, Sumner County and Sumner County and Davidson County have beef. Their sheriffs don't like each other, apparently. So I've heard about that too, which again is a bit off it's still off. I mean, it gives me a better understanding, but and that's the thing, Anglock, that's the thing. I don't know if he was, and I've kind of played the devil's advocate here and there and said, okay, yeah, maybe he was, if Chris was there, then what about it? If he wasn't there, then what about it? Or I've said about Chris and Katie, like, okay, Katie and Chris, let's just say Chris wasn't there. Let's just say your story is correct and he was in Memphis the whole time of the weekend. We still don't even know like if he was gone for the whole entire month or if he came back for a visit. Those sort of things are interesting, and I think it really important also because it speaks to that timeline of events, leading up to the disappearance.
A different answer from Katie and Chris talking about Sebastian's autism than the one that we got from Seth. And now Nancy has a final question.
What are your final thoughts?
I'm just looking for my son. I want him to come home. I need people to look at his picture. Keep your eyes up and keep your head up. If you see him, please call 911. I need my son back.
Do you think he left that home alone?
I have no idea what to think. It's not like him.
Seth, am I missing anything?
I'm missing something. This puzzle just isn't making sense. There's missing pieces to it. There's just
really
missing pieces.
You keep saying that a piece of the puzzle is missing. Something is missing. It doesn't add up. What do you mean by that?
Something, some it doesn't add up for him to break routine and to leave the house with no shoes, no socks on, no coat. Something just doesn't make sense.
Nancy says, what are your final thoughts? And that final thoughts signals to Seth, this is the last thing I'm going to ask you. Also, what are your final thoughts? But you can't go extra there. So you can just get it all out. And the first thing he says, I'm looking for my son and I want him to come home. That's his priority. I'm looking for my son and I want him to come home. He does say, I'm just looking for my son. So he's asked what your final thoughts are. And he says, I'm just looking for my son. Just is an interesting word. Just is used to focus and narrow our focus. So this is the only thing I'm doing is looking for my son and I want him to come home. But quite often there is more going on than the just, and just is used to direct our attention away from some other things. So what else is in his final thoughts? I think this will come out.
And I think a lot of the other things were that there was a lot of, again, the chatter, the buzz, and there was a lot of back and forth and blaming and pointing fingers and things like that. And I think that's why Seth says it that way. I just want to, find my son. I'm just looking for my son. That's all I care about. I don't care about anything else besides where's Sebastian. And hello, Detroit. It's so good to see you. And hey, Crazy Bird, good to see you guys. Welcome in. So, yeah, finding Sebastian has always been his priority. Absolutely. Right? I just need people to look at his picture. Keep your eyes open, keep your head up. If you see him, please call 911. I need my son back, right? I need my son because we do need our kids. We love our kids. We don't want anything ever bad to happen to our kids. That's what parents are put in charge for, is to protect their kids, right? So, yeah, the possible sighting in Carolina. Yeah, remember that possible sighting? I can see that picture right now and think that he is Sebastian. Even Seth thought it could have been him. Yeah, I mean, very, very close. There was also one in Missouri that was super close to a younger kid. Like, if it had been someone a little bit older to closer to his age, I would have been like, wow, that is almost an exact. So yeah, I'm just glad people are looking for him still, but it's got to be a huge letdown when you find out that, you know, it's not. I can't imagine that. And thank you, Holly. Thank you, thank you. What a hard line to toe. Yeah, suspect them, have to play nice because you just want Sebastian Rogers back. Yeah, it's sad. Absolutely. I mean, and yeah, and I really do think that I would do as much of that too. When you're dealing with a narcissist, in my opinion, like Chris, it is so difficult to work with those people. It is it's just so difficult to work with that personality type. It's just because they're toxic. So it's never going to be a good working relationship or romantic relationship or friendship or anything. They'll take and take and take. It's terrible. Um, Lover Girl says, I just can't help but feel sorry for Seth. Yeah, he's so clearly devastated. I know it's sad to see him that way. Right? It is. It's heartbreaking. I agree.
As he talks some more. He's asked, do you think he left that home alone? He says, I have no idea what to think. It's not like him. Now, no idea is not the same as don't know. Don't know is really reliable. I don't know something. No idea is quite often deceptive. And by that, I mean that we all have an idea. Yeah, we all have an idea. So you may say, I've no idea what's happened to Sebastian. You yourself, you've followed the story. You may say, I've no idea. Actually, you have more than one idea. There's all sorts of possibilities floating around in your mind. What that means
Mhm.
is there's not one thing that you want to get out there. There's not one thing that you want to talk about.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think all of us could say that we have, maybe even one, two, or three different scenarios that could be at play, right? I mean, narrowing them down is a little harder, especially because we don't have as much details from law enforcement or enough truth, really, from the people who were last with Sebastian, in my opinion. And I do believe that too, N Glock. I believe Chris said it wasn't Sebastian because he knows where Sebastian is. Yeah, I definitely think they know. And I definitely think they had some help because otherwise it would never work the way it did. So, and especially like I said earlier, if he is at a school or someone's harboring him, that's even one more person that's involved, which is very risky. The more people that you have involved in a crime, the more people that can start squawking like a canary, and start ratting people out, especially when there's a $50,000 reward, especially when there's a reward from at night for $500,000. You would think that that would bring people out of the woodwork for leads and things like that. And instead of being smart, because Chris and Katie have said, "Oh, I don't think that's actually they actually have that much for a reward." Well, who cares, right? You just want your son back, right? But again, they were part of all of those hate channels too, pushing that narrative, pushing that narrative. It's fake, it's fake, it's fake. Well, they don't need to know that, right? I would never come out as a parent and say that to the public. Oh, that reward's fake. No, that is an incentive for someone to come forward, and you're taking a big dump all over it, you know? I mean, what were they thinking? And again, it just shows I think they know where he is. So they're like, ain't nobody coming forward. I mean, that's my, take on that. Because they know that their people aren't going to talk, right? Because it's most likely his parents and I think his sister.
I have no idea what to think. Again, this suggests to me that he has some ideas. There is some thoughts going around in his head that he's not being told the truth or things have been kept from him. He does say, in response to the question, do you think he left that home alone? It's not like him. Now, when something's not like him, that doesn't mean they've never done it before or there's no possibility of it happening. It's just not like him. Like, he's made some typos in that document. It's not like him.
But here's the thing, too. At this point, Seth has been learning a lot about what was going on with Sebastian that he didn't know before. So maybe at this point he's thinking it's not like him, but it's possible that he did run away if he was enduring being, spanked with the bell and doing all this. And Mr. Chris and all this other nonsense. The CPS involvement had come out. So he was aware of these things now that he wasn't aware of before. So, yeah, I mean, I was thinking to myself, what if law enforcement has footage of Sebastian leaving the neighborhood, but they haven't told us? Because this kid did have reasons to run away, especially if his stepdad's horrible. He does not call me dad. He calls me Mr. Chris. Oh, really? Big pissy pants? Panties in a twist? Please go pick on someone your own damn size.
That's not, he's never made a typo before. It's just unusual. So I do wonder, if Sebastian has shown any signs of wanting to get away from home before. Nancy asks, Seth, am I missing anything? And Seth says, I'm missing something. The puzzle just isn't making sense. There's missing pieces to it. There's just missing pieces. In that very short answer, he says the word missing 3 times. Now, the word missing was introduced by Nancy in the question, so I'm not saying there's anything suspicious about this. Also, he is the father of a missing boy at the time he's talking. The boy has been missing for 3 weeks, so the missing things is going to be really high up in his priority. But he's not just missing something. The puzzle just isn't making sense. And I think, again, that he knows something is going on or feels that he hasn't been told anything. And if he was, the puzzle would make sense. Now, Nancy pushes him on this. You keep saying that
Right, yeah, because the puzzle doesn't make any sense, right? He's trying to piece everything together to find his son, and he's figuring out that there are, holes in everything, and nothing is adding up, nothing's making sense. And Crazy Bird says, I think Seth had a bad feeling about the Proudfoots on the first day. Uh, just a gut feeling. And I would trust my gut on that one, Crazy Bird, and I feel like that as well. I feel like it's a gut feeling for me too. Like even without, asking Seth or double checking or whatever, because it's in my opinion that there were going to be little things that were coming out, right, as he's there. Well, and then we find out later, right? But he's not going to put them on blast, right? And that's what Seth was really good at doing. Again, showing the restraint, because I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I'd be putting them on blast. I'd be they would be on blast. I would be going, Nancy, let me tell you something. Hey Nancy, how long do you got? Right? Let me tell you what has transpired and what these people have allowed to happen to Sebastian. Right? And some of the stuff would, make it to TV, I'm sure. Um, but again, it kind of unfolded, right? Because Chris started telling on himself, because the thing is when somebody has so much dirt on another person, the other person starts getting real paranoid, like, "Oh, what are you going to tell on me?" Right? When are you finally going to blast that shit out there, because you have the information. So sooner or later, you're going to put me on blast. So he puts Sebastian on blast. Says, "Oh, he's not supposed to be around my daughter. I don't like him being around her." But we find out that that's not the case at all. Nina says that Faith is absolutely devastated to have lost her big brother. And she's got to be scared to death. Hell, all the kids in that area have to be scared to death, because look, they have a kid missing for 2 years. Ain't nobody looking. Law enforcement, hello, where you at? She told Nancy Grace, my son can be anywhere, so I'm going to look. Yeah, I'm going to look for him in that area, right? And I'm going to look everywhere for him. And the only thing that she was asked to do was stay home. And she couldn't do that. She didn't do that. And then she said, "Oh, I'm listening to law enforcement because they told me to stick here." Chris, well, law enforcement told her to stay home. Yeah, but she didn't. She went off with you and accompanied her husband back to work, whatever the fuck that means. I know what accompany means. I just don't know why it takes you to accompany your husband to a job he was already doing without you all the way up until this point. And then they start blaming other people, you know? Just so irritating. Andrea says I would have called him Mrs. Chris. Mr. Chrissy Piss Pants. He's just always got his panties in a twist, doesn't he? He stays mad.
A piece of the puzzle is missing. Something is missing. It doesn't add up. What do you mean by that? His reply is something, it doesn't add up. For him to break routine and to leave the house with no shoes, no socks on, no coat, something just doesn't make sense. So once more, we've got this sense from him in his words, it doesn't add up. Now, when do you use the phrase, it doesn't add up? Quite often when you've heard someone talking, isn't it? Or you've watched an interview with someone on a documentary or something like that, or you've heard a story from one of your kids and you're going, it doesn't add up. So I think, again, this is him feeling that he's not been told the full truth. He says something just doesn't make sense. Once more, it's not a complete mystery. It's the fact that there is something, and he keeps talking about it doesn't add up and something doesn't make sense. I think he's got a real feeling that he's not being informed of everything, that there's something missing from what he has been told. So that is Seth's words at the beginning. I said, watch for repeated words and ideas. So did you spot any? The ones I spotted were...
Okay, guys. So before we get into the words that Seth repeated and that we spotted, I agree. So Nglock's talking about the Pharaoh technology, that camera that was on a tripod in their backyard. So when they were using that 3D reconstruction, and keep in mind, guys, they have that preserved. That preserves the crime scene, and what they can do later is use the virtual reality goggles and go back and as if they're, looking into the crime scene, as if they're there, right, through virtual reality. Um, and Anglock says when they did that in the backyard, they saw evidence of an abduction, and that's why they put out the Amber Alert. I think so as well. I think that they were able to capture with that technology something. Again, I believe they have a lot of evidence. I mean, a lot of evidence that they've never shared with anyone, right? Because, little Chrissy Piss Pants would lose his shit. He would just go ballistic and come unglued because he can't handle the fact that, he's caught. He thinks he's the smartest one in the room. He thinks he's smarter than all the cops. He thinks Bobby and Carter and all of them are his best buds. If I was them, I couldn't stand that little weasel. I wouldn't be able to stand him because I'd be like, you're making my life and my job harder and more miserable, right? And no, I wouldn't be okay with it. So, but I think you're definitely right that they figured out a lot of information in that first 7 days. I think they might have had enough in the first 7 days to, especially with what they were gathering up, right? But one weird thing, what I don't understand is why they never looked into any of their vehicles, maybe because they knew where they were. But then what about the vehicle that should have been put out on the Amber Alert? Like, what car are we looking for? And that's what's the hardest part of everything in these questions, right? Because, where is Sebastian? What happened to him next? Even if we figure all the other stuff out, I mean, that's where we're still sitting like, where is he? What happened to him? You know? Detroit says Faith is going to be 9 soon, and I bet she has a million questions. I wonder how Nina is dealing with explaining things to her. I think it seems like they have a pretty open an honest relationship. I think she feels like she can tell her mama, anything. But I do wonder, because kids keep things to themselves, Detroit, they do. And also with Nina having such reactions, and I'm sure she's getting help for that, but I could see the PTSD with the reactions that she's having. Because you stay in hypervigilant mode, right? You're always in survival mode. So you're like, the littlest thing could trigger and you could be right back there because I mean she's never truly gotten away from Proudfoot. you know it was his fourth marriage and she's never been able to get away from him because they have a kid, because they have a beautiful daughter, Faith, and he's always going to use her as a pawn. Make no mistake, and it's like it's just going to be never ending explaining his mental illness to her forever. So, I mean, I do often, I mean, I pray for Nina and her family, right? The kids and everything. I think she's a really beautiful woman. I think she's a beautiful mom. I think she does a lot of things with the girls, with her son. I wish for all the best with her because I know that it's relentless dealing with someone like Chris, and I know that she's going to be dealing with him for the rest of her life, right? Anytime there's a special event, anytime she has to see him again.
My son is missing. I need my son back. And also about calling 911. I saw that a few times in the interview. Those were the words and ideas that I spotted missing, as well as being informed of things and not wanting to pass those on as factually true, but wanting to say, this is what I've been told. So it's a qualified truth. Intensities, apart from one or two little tense things that were interesting, reliably in the past sorry, the present tense when talking about Sebastian, especially when talking about his autism. It was all about who Sebastian is. Nothing was about who Sebastian was. And hidden truths, again, I think for me, it was the fact that he just talks about what he's been informed of and where his understanding of events comes from, which is Chris and Katie's words. I think that is something that is very highly prevalent for him. So, in conclusion, Seth, his answers to the questions are simple, very little extra. And what is extra is not storytelling or alibi building or direction shifting in a way that we wouldn't want it to go. Consistent, his telling of the story is consistent with no contradictions in them or anything that I can see like that. And it's very direct. He's asked a question and he answers the question. He listens to what he's been asked and provides the information that he's been asked to provide. All that indicates he's telling the truth and he is not hiding things, especially.
Okay, right? So the conclusion, simple, consistent, direct. You know, that's how I've always really felt when I've watched Seth's interviews. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm actually gathering some really important information here. When I listen to Chris Proudfoot, especially, I feel dumber afterwards, right? I feel like what just happened, right? Duh, Chris, right? Because he's just an idiot. And then Katie, I'm frustrated with her, right? I'm like, you're ridiculous. There's no way this is really your personality. You're putting on a front, right? You're trifling as they come, Katie. Stop being so shady. That's why I call her Shady Katie. Because she just, I mean, unbelievable, right? So again, all indicates truth and nothing hidden apart from the lie detector question, right? But then he ends up taking the lie detector. And also, I believe by June, when this interview was actually analyzed, Seth had already taken the polygraph to the best of my knowledge. So,
Events, apart from the lie detector question. Got a question mark over that for some reason. That he didn't just say, yes, I take a lie detector, but he says, I volunteered. And volunteered in the past tense, not I'm volunteering, or I would volunteer in the future. It's I volunteered in the past tense. There's something about the lie detector question that makes me wonder what is going on. But let me not labor that because he was so simple, consistent, direct, which indicates that at that point, 3 weeks after Sebastian went missing, he was very truthful in that interview with Nancy Grace. Your thoughts in the comments or get in touch on social media. I'd love to hear what you think about Seth. And I know there's a whole load more that's gone on around him, but I'm only looking at that interview and that's what I see. If you know people interested in Sebastian or interested in maybe learning more about what's happened to him, then please share this or how people speak truthfully when one of their children is missing.
okay, guys. So, that's what we have there. And really well done, I thought. I know Seth was coming in here teasing, and I appreciate him also, telling us, hey, this is what I really meant by this statement. I appreciate that a lot because, it's important to have context, and we talk about context in behavioral analysis and linguistics and all of that. So we have to have that context, that baseline, um, you know, to work with what we're given, right? And it helps us to, interpret what we're being told. So, yeah, all this is unseen. I always think these are so interesting, and I love hearing what you guys have to say. And I think it does spark really new ideas in all of us. And, because especially we haven't really gone over, Jack Fox before. So, yeah, I think Katie has been I think she's carrying a big burden, a heavy weight on her. And it's showing in many, many ways. And Katie is easy to read because she gets all red, right? When she's under pressure, like she can't hide it. It's like, what's wrong, Katie? You know what I mean? Like people can absolutely play off of that. And I do not know why these detectives have never, it's never occurred to them to get her in the hot seat, right? Because of course tonight that's the title for Seth, that he's in the hot seat. But really, he's been analyzed by a lot of different people. Pat Brown has analyzed Seth. A whole slew of people have done a really, really great job of analyzing a lot of what the statements that the Proud Feet have made that they've actually heard. Now, none of them will really touch the absurd ones, right? Like where Chris is talking about Chuck Berry's dingling and all this. No. No. Unfortunately, um the mainstream media is never going to probably partake in analyzing that fuckery. I don't even know why I do, honestly. But that's again why I kind of want to get more of a mainstream timeline and, the interview pieces that really matter, right? Because I mean, it's just been ridiculous. It's just been really, it's like a freaking circus, right? And now here we are 2 years later. So let's see what we can piece together. And I know that Mob Crew is back on the lights, right, in the neighborhood, which I think is great. And I think that if Sebastian made it out of the house that night because he got home and then somebody carried him out of the house, in my opinion. That's how I feel about it. Now what you guys are saying here, and I got 174 votes, you guys. Thank you for voting. Because I had a small group this afternoon and people were like, "Well, I don't know." I don't know. And so I was like, "Oh, I need to put one." So we did that. And I think that helps me out for the future polls, right? So thank you for that too. So do you think Sebastian Rogers made it home? 47% as of right now are saying no. No. 28% are saying yes. And then we have 25% that are unsure, right? So basically, the majority of you think tonight that Sebastian never made it home. So I'd really like to explore that theory more in depth. Um, and I don't know if you guys watched the Texas Roadhouse video where Jen and I went to stop 30 from, well, we didn't do it from the Texas Roadhouse, I don't believe, but it was near there. So, you get off the highway and then you're going right to the Proudfoot residence. Off of the Stop 30 road, there is this gravel road. There's two of them. One of them goes back into kind of a wooded area, but the other one comes back into a more open wooded area. What's the woods are surrounding like this electrical transformer thing. I don't know. And not Optimus Prime. I'm just talking about like this little building where there's electricity. Either way, there's a lot of woods back through there. Silver's on the scene went there and he found like a big barrel, that had filled up with water and they pushed it over. He had some searchers also helping there. There seemed to be some people that were like camping out over there too, but there's a shit ton of bones. I mean, people are over there dumping shit and things like that, right? So again, I think that could be a strong option because if you pull in there, you can make yourself not visible from the road, especially once it starts getting dark around there. Because when in the beginning, I made fun of Katie a little bit myself. I'm like, yeah, Katie, it's dark at night everywhere. But when you get by the neighborhood, it's very dark on the streets. And then also when you're turning into it, it's very dark except for people who have their houses lit up. because there's no street lights, there's no street lamps. So, you know, and they're kind of off the beaten path a little bit. Now the school, I think they keep their lights on, you know, so the school's pretty well lit. Um, and then you have the like Freemason Lodge, the cemetery, the church, the new construction, and then Sebastian's neighborhood, right? Victoria Place. CP and KP knew Seth was going to be at work and planned it at a time frame for a reason. Yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying, Detroit. I've given it plenty of time to execute their plan. Um, wait long enough to tell Seth, in my opinion. Yeah, I think it definitely gave them some wiggle room, right? And I do think that you're absolutely on the right track with me, Detroit, because I'm always thinking, you know, how much time did they have in between this or that, right? Like in terms of with Katie and Sebastian, if they made it home at 7, then she had that many hours, right? If they didn't make it home at all, then she would have only had how much time from the Texas Roadhouse to. But again, we don't know exactly when they made it home. We don't know what time they exactly made it home. I'm guessing it was around 7 because of the time they left at the Roadhouse. I'm giving them again some wiggle room, you know? So, uh, Nglock says, I think the activity in the back was them bringing back his shoes and clothes so so his shoes could be accounted for. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, and see, also, they would have had to take his shoes off from the time of Texas Roadhouse and back as well. And quite possibly change his clothes because here's another thing to consider. Sebastian's clothes, what he's wearing in the pictures, they gave those clothes to law enforcement is what Chris and Katie said. Now, did they really do it? I'm not sure, but they said they did. They said those were the clothes that were given for scent. That's what they said to Nancy Grace. I believe it was Nancy Grace or Smiley. So, night vision goggles. Yeah, I know people have talked about that and headlamps. I think the headlamp thing is smart, you know. Um, the police followed Seth home and he let them in himself, allegedly. Yes, I do remember him saying that too, Detroit. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Liberty says me too, Unglock, and also to make a direction, or excuse me, to make the distraction to make it look like Sebastian had left on his own in a car. Yeah, and I think that would be a strong indication of him not making it, right? Or excuse me, him never making it home as well. So, did KP drop something in Sebastian's food or drink? I mean, do you remember when she was like opening the roll? You know, I don't know even how to say it because she didn't cut it, you know, like with a butter knife or whatever, the knife they put on the table, the steak knife, and then buttering it. She was like pulling it and touching all over it. Do you guys remember that? I have to find that clip. Whoops, of the Texas Roadhouse. Sorry, I was moving. Um, Because remember, yeah, Liberty when she was like she I mean, I don't know how to describe it really because she's like opening it up, right? And then but I don't remember her putting any butter in it. Or did she? I mean, that could have even been her hiding it and then if she put butter, it still could have been. Yeah. I just feel like I don't know, wouldn't Sebastian be like, "Blah, this is gross." Like what'd you put what is this, you know? Um, oh gosh. So, Yeah, I'm gonna have to check out. Okay, Lori, I'll get it. I know I know I have it. Um, I'm almost positive. And then, Justin blew me away when he put that one, when she hit his finger. Well, she didn't, okay, she didn't hit his fingers, but it looked like on the camera, right, that like Sebastian went to grab a roll and she was gonna like hit his hand away from it if he even touched it. But he didn't get that far. So poor kid. And I remember all of us moms were like, let him have the damn roll, you know. Shit, I'm pretty sure a lot of us would have wanted to put a sign out if it was closer to the time that we had the gathering, like give him a roll. You know what I'm saying? He needs a role. And it's sad because like poor Sebastian, it just always seems like he was in friggin' trouble. And then here's Katie again. Oh, don't he wasn't in trouble, Chris. Oh, would have made more sense if he was in trouble, but he wasn't, oh my gosh. So oh Lori. Give Sebastian a role. Everybody's like, that was 2 years ago. Okay, but we don't care. Give him a roll anyway. Could you believe it? That was a good catch though. Like those are those little things in this footage. It's interesting because you could go over it and over it and over it and find new things, I think, especially if we slow it down and do different things. And it was amazing when Mob Crew had found them in the vehicle and Katie putting the earbuds in. Because how many times did we all look at that, but we weren't really focusing in on Katie at that point, probably, and that's why we didn't catch it. So exactly. Always watch your drinks and don't let anybody near your bread and butter. That's great. All that is unseen. That's true. Yeah, you don't want to, right? Because I mean, here's the thing. All of those people that are getting I don't know how to say it, I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, but like, when they're putting the extras in people's drinks, right, that they didn't order. And that's a big issue. That's a big issue in a lot of places too. Um And we heard a lot about it during Riley's strain, right? Because everyone was like, was he dosed by something? Or, hey, Funtuski says, in my opinion, Katie and Laura, yes, Katie and Lori, yeah, could have switched the boys at the back near the storage units, and who would be the wiser? The boys are the same age and both allegedly have autism. I know a lot of people have focused on the storage units. We did go by those storage units too. The ones over by Warsham's, I think are the ones you're talking about. Because yeah, a lot of people were wondering about that, and that's allegedly near where Katie was, or excuse me, that's allegedly near where Mama Bowersocks was sitting, and people saw her, and there were like 3 people who said they saw her over there. And a lot of people know her. They know of her. Real estate agents, that's, part of it. You sell yourself. So, I mean, I was actually thinking I would see a freaking billboard with her on it. I'm not joking. I really thought, am I going to see a thing for like, Kathy, or even, for the construction company or anything like that. Seth would have been at work at 7 and worked for 12 hours. So even if Sebastian got away and tried to call him, he wouldn't have his phone during that time. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Seth wouldn't have had his phone, and I bet you that was probably one of the questions that was asked right away. Did he take his phone? Like, where do you guys think he went? I mean, I don't know what was asked. I think it would be awfully strange for somebody to text me 911 and then just call me, not even leave a voicemail. And then I call them back. And Katie did allegedly have a direct line to him and knew exactly how to get a hold of him if she needed to. If there was ever a three-way call, it should have happened immediately between the 3 parents, don't you think? Detroit, you got me thinking over here. I'm like, well, what about a three-way with Seth? Because I mean, not that kind of three-way, but you guys know. Why not do a call, the three of yous? And Groot says, I don't know if you all notice, but that's a key phrase. Which one is a key phrase, Groot? Thanks for being here. It's good to see you. In my opinion, it would have made sense if he was in trouble, but he wasn't. That's very telling. Yeah, I agree, Groot. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Would have made more sense if we'd been fighting, right? And them constantly saying, You're not in trouble. What do you want to tell Sebastian? You're not in trouble. Absolutely very telling. I agree. Hey, Mama's World. She says we aren't even sure she bought him snacks. Did they not allow him to snack? He disappeared. So who really ate the snacks? I mean, I wondered about the snacks too, because that was such a weird thing for her to say. And then she said he'd rummage for snacks. I'm like, who rummages in their own house? And when would you even say your own child's rummaging? Because I've even said, if my daughter was here and she's 24, and I'm like, if she was here, I would never think she was rummaging in my cabinets. If she's hungry, she goes, grab us a snack, whatever she wants. It goes in the fridge, rummaging. I just thought that was always weird. Katie said that in Chronicles of Olivia, but also, she said, and he's 15 and snacks. And then also, Chris in there was saying, he's a bottomless pit, this kid. And so it makes you wonder, like, was food an issue? Because they've talked about it a lot and they've said a lot of statements about food that were strange. And I've always also wondered if they bought a bunch of snacks so they wouldn't have to leave the house, or if they did leave the house, they could fill the camper up with their snacks. And I mean, it does appear that they've eaten a lot of snacks. So, I mean, Mama's World, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but it's like if you're not going out anywhere or doing anything, you know, you're gonna inevitably, gain. Unless, Katie's doing booty bands in their camper, but I doubt it. Um, Crazy Bird says they were showing that some bars have stickers that cover the top of the drink in a straw that fits slightly through a small hole. Oh, cool. Yeah, I know that they have the little strips that you can use as well to test your drink out. I mean, I think that's just smart, especially because you just never know what people are capable of. So those people, anybody that distributes or uses that kind of thing is absolute trash, in my opinion. Groot says that immediately makes me think if he's alive, did they convince him he was in fact in trouble, therefore couldn't contact anyone during this time saying who he was? I think so, Groot. I think that that is a strong possibility. I think that if Sebastian is being held somewhere, I think he's been brainwashed. And I'm not saying tinfoil hat brainwash. I'm saying that that's typically what someone who is holding someone else captive will do. They'll tell them your parents don't care for you, right? You're with me now. You've been in trouble too many times. They don't want you around. That's the whole thing that scares me so much about the school thing, because when Katie talks about Sebastian dipping behind walls, if that is in fact true, was he dipping behind the walls because he was listening to see what his fate was going to be? Because, I mean, they're looking at schools, he's in trouble, right? Maybe he's eavesdropping on a conversation and pretends like he's dipping behind walls to scare Katie, but really he was back there listening and got caught one time or something like that. So, yeah, I think it's a very strong possibility that Sebastian could think one thing, um, and being held somewhere, right? I mean, Katie talks about, well, maybe he's possibly in the basement, you know? So, Jenny by the beach, good to see you. She says, I don't believe this was the first time Sebastian walked out that door after an argument. I do think he's always returned, but this night was different. But was but what upset him enough to run out the door? I mean, I think by the body language that we see on the screen here, that Sebastian was in trouble that night. This is not a comfortable or happy scenario that we see in these 4 pictures up here. The 5th one's just Katie being creepy, in my opinion. Um, I do believe that Sebastian did not run away on his own. Um, whether he's done it before, I mean, I would think that somebody would have seen him in the neighborhood, maybe not. If he's done it before, where did he go? Um, I can't say that he's never done it, but I don't think that this night he did it, because I think that he would have been on camera in the neighborhood had he went out his window or out the front door or something like that. Also, with his window, that wouldn't work either, because all of the windows were locked, right? Everything according to Chris and Katie, and they said that law enforcement checked it, nothing was amiss, right? Everything was locked up, the doors too. If he went out the front door, he would have been caught on the camera across the street. So that's an issue, in my opinion. To get out of the neighborhood, we know that corner house has cameras. That's where the so-called flashlight video comes from. So I'm very convinced that if Sebastian walked out of the neighborhood, and then again with the shoes, right? He wouldn't have made it far barefoot any which way he went. There are woods surrounding any direction, and even if he was walking on the street, there's gravel, pieces of rock, pieces of glass, um, barefoot, even with socks. But no, I don't think he left on his own. I think that we would have seen him. If we can see a black cat on the camera in the neighborhood, we're going to see Sebastian, right? That's a little tiny animal that we're seeing still, So that's what really gets me. That's where I get, a roadblock when I work through a theory, right? Those are the several roadblocks, the shoes, right? The fact that he would have been caught on camera, um, all of that. Did anyone notice how she? Oh, and also, I do want to say, as dark as the neighborhood is, and that little keychain flashlight that allegedly didn't even work, he would have never been able to see in front of his face. It's so dark. It's so dark, especially on Long Hollow Pike. Um, it's very dark. N Glock says, did anyone notice how she threw the menu at him? She wasn't giving him the snacks. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, yeah, he was like, he pointed the game, right? Can I play the game, mom? And she just tosses him a menu. Then when he gets his food, he's like eating, right? Really quickly. Um, and he was probably exhausted. He probably wanted to just get home. And Texas Roadhouse is so loud, you guys. Like, they're blaring country music in Texas Roadhouse. It is loud in Texas Roadhouse. And I love loud music, right? I'm like, turn it up to 11, right? But it's loud. I mean, there's speakers everywhere. Outside is loud. We saw Sebastian plugging his ears up. He's like not really down with these loud sounds. Again, even going hibachi, the clanking, he doesn't appreciate that. People have said that he doesn't appreciate the garage door sound, right? It's a sensory issue for him. So there's like so many roadblocks in, especially now that we know so much. Um, Crazy Bird says my daughter is 46 and gets in my fridge, and I have told her girlfriend that is her home as well. Yeah, and I don't need to be asked, just help yourself. Exactly. I'm even like that with my friends. I mean, like if I know someone and they've been over to my house several times, I'm like, hey, if you're thirsty or whatever, if you're hungry, whatever. Absolutely. It's just like I wouldn't look at somebody strange if I've known them and they've been to my house several times. If they go and grab themselves a soda or a pop or whatever. Yeah. I mean, and then think about your own kids rummaging my ass. No, I'm just kidding. But it does make me think like that. Yeah, Brad, Texas Roadhouse does have really good food. I love their rolls. I think that's why I was really upset as well about the roll. I was like, they're so good. Why wouldn't you let them have it? You know? So no, the dogs did not track him to the construction site, Jenny. The dogs were not scent specific, unfortunately. He's definitely upset about something she told him, in my opinion. He shakes his head no and then looks down and it's picking at his nails. I know, exactly. And it's the one right above your comment in the middle, you know. And also, Jenny, I did not make that up. That was said by Ken Widener on day 4. He said those dogs are not scent specific. So just so you know, I didn't want to be like, well, because I'm not an expert on dogs by any means, but Ken Widener, the emergency management director, said that. There's definitely been comments about the menu. Yeah, I mean, just the way the whole thing was like he was like he was in trouble. Like his mom was not pleased with him, but for what? Did he throw a fit or something because he couldn't go bowling? Maybe, you know. But by the time they get to the Texas Roadhouse, he seems to be regulated in his emotions, right? He just does. But if they didn't go bowling and they didn't play games and they only spent 10 minutes at the Strike and Spare, which has been alleged, then where did they go after, right? Did they go straight away to the Texas Roadhouse? Because, I mean, we see her even parking in the parking space, right? She's attempting to park several times and then she finally gets it. So we've seen them doing that. But what time did they arrive at the bowling alley? I'm not even sure about that. Groot says one thing I haven't seen that I think that would be helpful is a picture of the fidget torch, I think called flashlight in US. Yeah, the flashlight, yeah. Because that's been said to be missing when searching, people look out for it. Yeah. So I was absolutely looking for a yellow keychain flashlight, Groot. And yes, I agree with you. And it was said that that was something that Sebastian liked to fidget with, but it's so teeny tiny that basically a little flashlight like that doesn't give off enough light if you were to use it for a flashlight, unless you're like right at your car and you need to see the hole for your key to go into, like stuff like that, it's handy for. But other than that, no. Mm-mm. It's he would have never made it through the neighborhood, but it was said to be yellow, and that was also put out by law enforcement. Yellow keychain flashlight. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree. And Glock, and it was also said that Sebastian would wake up in the middle of the night and sneak snacks. Try to say it because it's kind of hard to say it right, but that's what Katie said too. Sneaks snacks. Damn, girl, why don't you feed your child? Like, especially Sebastian's a growing boy and he is thin, right? But some thin people can eat. Like, I know a lot of thin people who you would be surprised, like, they put the food back now, and you're like, where do you put it? Right? All I have to do is look at that and I've gained weight, right? But hey, look at you, right? But some people are that way. Um, I just think Sebastian was extremely thin, and I'm wondering about food restriction, which we do see in a lot of these cases when abuse is present, and we know abuse is present in this case because 4 CPS reports and then a fifth one that's still open. That's far too many, you know? You're thinking, Jenny, that he didn't return home after the Texas Roadhouse? You know, I'm torn myself. I really am. Um, especially seeing the poll. You guys are helping me out here because yeah, we're still looking, the same. 47%. We got 187 votes, guys. So really, really great. I'm actually gonna end that poll out. I hope it sticks around. I haven't seen. Okay, there we go. Poll is complete. And then that way we can have a good indication because I know um Seth was teasing me in the afternoon. He's like, "Oh gosh, lady, we only got 19 votes though." And I'm like, "Oh crap, well there's 60 of us in here." And I was like, and a lot of people were going, "I'm not sure. I'm not sure." And I was like, "Oh, so the majority is saying I'm not sure." Okay. On the flip side of things. So that's why we added another one. So the figure walking opposite direction after KP left the Texas Roadhouse is still sus to me. Has anyone noticed the t-shirt on the individual? Are you talking about like the one that was walking kind of behind the bushes? Fontuski says, I forgot about the one in Wyoming. They're on property that okay, away from the big towns and miles away from small towns, in my opinion. Okay, is that one of the schools or something like that? Because I would like to try to do a campaign to get the, flyers out to schools that maybe, Sebastian's there and they don't know that he's been reported missing type of a thing, Funtuski. Just mainly because there's a lot of them out there that are very shady, but then also um and they just care about getting the money for the kids. Um, but then also they were looking into that option. I mean, all three parents were. So, yeah, I get what you're saying. And Glock says so when she gets rid of him, she can have that disconnect kind of building herself up. He's probably so confused. Yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm thinking. Even if somebody has him for Katie and is hiding him, especially because again, Katie and them like to deal with a lot of shady ass people themselves that will do anything for a buck, you know? So that worries me as well. Not because he used a light, but more of it was in his pocket of his clothes and fell out during leaving, however he left. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, you never know. He could have had it on him. That's a good point. Girls' pants don't typically have pockets, but boys do. Boys typically do have pockets on their pants, right? So yeah, that's a good point, Groot. Yeah, absolutely. So, um, I mean, I just think it's just very interesting. Lori says, I think KK just said that about the flashlight, just in case they saw the lights in the backyard. I do think that could be a very strong possibility, Lori. I do. Yeah, I do. Because I think that they are flashlights or a headlamp, right? Which is also a flashlight that you just wear on your head. It's a hands-free, flashlight. So yeah, hmm, that's a good point because she knew that there would be some sort of and because also, I mean, they had to have known where the cameras who had cameras in the neighborhood, right? Because a lot of them you can see them outside. And they might have been taking inventory of that, in my opinion, especially if they were planning this out, you know? I have two possibilities, one yes, one no, so I'm not sure. I mean, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. If I had to absolutely pick one, though, I would say the 3 a.m. lights are the way that Sebastian got out of the house. Um, if he didn't make it home, my money's on that Stop 30 Road place, right? Right off of Stop 30 Road. But there are a couple of places on the way home that they could have done something also. And just, because I can't put it past Katie, especially when she's saying that he could be in a basement somewhere or to check the dark web. Right? So then that makes me think, did they sell Sebastian or give him to somebody who would take him for nefarious reasons? It definitely worries me, and it's a part of, Sebastian still being out there, but them knowing where he is. And that one is very scary. It's very scary to think he's in a school, right? Because also he's missing his dad. They never let him say goodbye to his dad or anything like that, right? It's got to be terrifying for Sebastian no matter which circumstance he's in. So, yeah, the kids' camps. Yeah, like the ranches and stuff, Liberty. Yeah. So when I say schools, guys, thanks, Liberty, because I mean, yeah, I know that kind of sounds silly, always schools, schools. Well, what if he's in, the corrective reprogramming type atmosphere where they claim they have schools, but really it's just like a work camp for kids, you know. We're gonna reprogram you. So yeah, school or behavior camps. Yeah. Behavior correction camps. Exactly all that is unseen. Yeah. And some church-based, this is that's another good one, Funtuski, that adds to the list. I mean, see, we really have our work cut out for us if we think of it like that. Like if we were to start hitting up all these ranches and all these, churches and all these things, right? I mean, does that mean that if they do have Sebastian there that they're going to tell us? Well, maybe not. But I mean, I think it's worth a try. So, I think that's really important to do that as well. Right. Exactly, Lori. Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Hell, there's a lot of people in Tennessee that don't even know he's missing, right? Or they think he's been found already. They're like, "Oh, happy ending, everything's all good." No, it's not. We have not found Sebastian, you know. Oh, no, that is such a good point. So it could indicate where he was at some point in time. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think that there has to be more indications, but then again, the fact that there is no digital footprint, the fact that he didn't take a phone with him is a huge red flag to me because even little children that are planning on running away would take something with him, take something with them. And then on top of that, if people are saying, well, I think that, like Jenny was saying earlier, I think that there might have been a situation where he had to get out quickly, right? Which I would understand that if there would have been maybe even one sighting of him somewhere on camera, like in the neighborhood or walking past the school or Warsham's, there's a lot of things in between. And the way that I think he would go, especially if he's just got a little keychain flashlight and he's by himself and scared and all that, and just got into a fight with mom and he decided to run, away when she fell asleep, then there would be some indication of him, and he probably would have went that way towards the school where it's, light enough to see. Um, so Tully says hashtag Seth Rogers for sheriff. Gosh, I just think he's too good for Sumner County, Yeah, send it on a wild goose. Which one? Liberty, I'm sorry. Um, CPS. All right, hold on, because Liberty says she's sending you on a wild goose chase with that one lady. Did Seth think Sebastian needed to go to a school for his behavior? When he talks about him, when he's with him, he doesn't have a problem with his behavior. I've never heard Seth say Sebastian was acting out of control. No, I think it was mainly because of what was going on in their house and at the Proudfoots, right? He was trying to figure out what was going on, and I think that at the time, because the schools were full, right, and he couldn't get him into the online classes, that they were thinking about like a temporary solution because Chris and Katie were acting like they couldn't handle Sebastian, like he was so out of control, like, oh my god, we can't. Yeah. But it's because Chris was like, that boy's gonna get me in trouble and get me kicked out of my house. Well, you deserve it if you're disrespecting and abusing the people in your house, then maybe you need to leave because you're the common denominator, Mr. Foot. And Brad says, "Lady, I hope Sebastian is still alive." Does Seth think so? Yeah, yeah. He absolutely does, Brad. And he did answer earlier that question when he was in here. So, oh, the dark web stuff. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Okay, thanks, Liberty. I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's a nationwide Amber Alert. I don't even know how to access the dark web, Liberty. But I mean, I'm just saying when she says stuff like that, that is something that makes me wonder, right? Because she's only given a certain amount of theories about what she thinks happened to Sebastian, right? Not that I'm saying that she would leak one out to us or tell us one of them, but you just never know. A lot of these criminals like to toy with people and see how much they can get over on them. So, it's low, low, low on the list. Um And I do think she was trying to deflect with that. And two, she was telling Heather Cohen that, who's, Seth's PI, who she didn't respect, who she didn't want, working the case even. He hired you, not us. You're working for, the Rogers family and all this. So, oh, yeah, exactly. People at the wilderness camps have no idea about this. I agree. I agree. Because how would they really? Yeah, Brad, I think that's a possibility too. But then again, the reason why they didn't put Sebastian in a school for short term was one, they couldn't find one that was, not one with horrible reviews on it. But another reason is that they ultimately figured out that even between the three of them, it was going to be extremely expensive and the tuition was going to be way too high for even all three of them. So they decided against it. So, Liberty says, Brad, that costs money. Yeah, yeah. And they did come to that conclusion that they couldn't collectively pay for it. Fontuski says, in my opinion, CP was kicked out of his house and had a hard on for Sebastian as Sebastian was telling his truth about CP. And CP has a temper. I agree with that, Fontuski. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. I think that was a big point of contention in the house. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it really pissed Chris off, and I think it really hurt his fragile little ego. And he was like, how dare he defy me, right? Because a lot of these, narcissistic parents that call their kids defiant. It's like, well, yeah, because they're not putting up with your shit anymore. I'd be defiant too. And again, when your kid starts acting out of character, there's more to it. People just don't grasp how remote those places are. I mean, a lot of them are in the middle of nowhere. And then some of them places are also, seated in the tradition of the IBLPs and different things like that. I mean, there are layers to a lot of that. Absolutely, Liberty. And they're very rural. Put them in the middle of nowhere, Crazy Bird says. Yep, so the kids can't run away. Someone to get help. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The one that was on the movie, or excuse me, the series, the program, it was like surrounded by water, kind of almost. I mean, it was super secluded, wooded, water, all of it, you know? Really, really scary and really overwhelming, especially for someone on the spectrum, but just anyone in general. So, yeah, totally. And, and the thing is, too, is again, they could be telling Sebastian anything. We don't know what Katie was even telling him at the table, besides it looks like, you know, he was getting scolded and told what to do, like you're gonna do it, you know. And he might have said, no, no, and she's going, why? So he might have even been set up with the expectation, and there could have been a quick handoff on the way home from Texas Roadhouse. So if CPS did placement under another name, the state of Tennessee would be paying for the schooling, in my opinion. Yeah, I can't discount that. I really can't. Lori says lots more. Yeah. And Coffee Crime and Cat says that's true. There is one in Montana, lady, that is deep, deep in the Rocky Mountains. Wow. It's literally in the middle of the wilderness. Oh my goodness. So do they have a website? Because this is what I'm trying to do, is like figure some of these places out where we can send, a flyer to, but we'd have to do it digitally, I'd imagine, or we could, send one. I have some that I can, fold up and get, you know, I just take them down to the post office and, get a forever stamp on them and send them out. So, because I was wanting to do that, like a campaign with those, at least so we can say that we put them out there. You never know when somebody's going to see that flyer. Detroit, yes, the bite marks on CP's arms are very telling, in my opinion. I believe there was a struggle between CP and Sebastian, possibly in the garage. That was the thud KP talks about, in my opinion. Oh, yeah. Detroit, the thud had to have come from somewhere, right? It started with a noise, right? And then it was a thud, and then it was a bang. And a garage door, if you hit, even say a basketball with the you know with the garage door with a basketball, it's going to make a big boom tin sound on it. Yeah. Chris, we will find Sebastian, then prepare yourself, because then we're coming from you. Your POS ass. Crazy bird. Exactly. We need to put that pressure on. We need to put that pressure on. Look, they didn't do anything perfect here. They didn't pull off the perfect anything here. The perfect crime, the perfect, once over on anybody. No, they didn't. A lot, the military type schools as well, Bo, is another very strong option, especially with their ties. you know I can see Eric Snuggle struggles looking the other way on that one too. Just look them up online. But the ones affiliated with some of those churches are super private. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. They don't believe in some of that stuff, right? Because they'd rather have people in a cult like setting, you know? So, near Cook, Montana. Lori says, I agree, Detroit. Bo says that's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say that she heard something loud, right? If it turned over to a bang, from a thud, from a noise to a thud to a bang, oh, it had to been loud. And who knows? What if one of the neighbors told the police they heard a bang? Detroit? If they told the police that they heard a bang, maybe that's where the bang came from. Maybe the bang didn't even come from Katie or her recollection or her recall. Maybe it was someone else's, because they were all talking. Right away they were all talking. So, well, I think we need to keep putting our heads together on this. Lori says, I think there was a struggle after the roadhouse and Sebastian ran out of the house with CP chasing him. See, but I just don't see. Well, I will say that there could be footage that we don't know about. But that's another thing that I'm just wondering, was there footage of that, you know? Oh, okay, that's how I know about that place. Liberty says it's Colorado Springs. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Tully says I feel they didn't put him in a school because they could have been charged with obstruction of an investigation. But some of these places are like vile themselves. They really are. They really are, Tully, and they don't care about nothing as long as they get paid for each kid, and then they don't even care, like to give them the proper education and stuff. So there are, and some of them are just in it because they want to exploit the children, right, and do mean things to them, and be disgusting with them. It's really vile. Detroit says the dent was made from the inside of the garage. It was pointed out early on, and then it was fixed immediately after, allegedly. I would love to get some more information on that, Detroit. I don't remember when that was talked about. I don't even remember when that was talked about. I do remember people talking about it, but I didn't know that was all the way in the beginning, or that somebody pointed it out. Was it like on Sweetie Pilo or something? Because I know she interviewed the neighbors. No, we cannot trust CPS in Tennessee. No. Oh, it is highly corrupt. And they're always doing fuck shit with these kids and having them sleeping in the offices. But no, we don't have them sleeping in the offices. They're not. No, nothing to see here. But then, secretively, we have people whistleblowing. Liberty, I believe I remember something happening in Colorado Springs because of the focus on the family. Okay. Yeah, they do they're super shady. They're hurting the kids themselves. Exactly. There had to be some kind of struggle with the marks CP had on his arms. I think so too, Lori. But you know what? I'll tell you, when people talk about somebody being in the back seat, someone said that earlier today, that they believe that someone was hiding in the back seat. And when you look at the wounds, where they're located on Chris's arms, it does appear that he may have come over the back of a seat, right, of the passenger seat, and maybe he was going to hurt Sebastian, and Sebastian scratched him on his forearms, because that's where these scratches and bite marks were located. And if somebody is grabbing you from behind that way, that's where the defensive wounds would be. In my opinion, I can see it working out that way, right? Or if, again, Chris came up from behind and was hurting Sebastian. So, hey, Nisi, good to see you. She says maybe that was the flashlights. Yeah, and I mean, I just think it's a strong possibility that it could be either or. That's why I call it the fork in the road, because, at this point, there's a couple of different theories that can be worked out. Cinderella says last year a young lady was somehow taken into custody by CPS, sent to Georgia. Her family reported her missing. Oh, wow, really? Really? I didn't hear that, Cinderella. That's interesting. She was found when she was 18 and she was homeless and called her parents. Oh, okay. I mean, I think the homeless camps are a big one. That's one that Jen and I both talked about too. Was what about the homeless camps? Because again, they do accept people into their little communities, and as long as, they're all contributing, and kind of in those environments, it's just up to the group on what is contributed to where and who and what, So, yeah, the Turnabout Ranch, Funtuski, exactly. Exactly, the Turnabout Ranch. Yeah, and CPS is very complicit. I agree. I agree. Well, guys, I'm gonna have to get off here because I do have about we're gonna do like a 3:30 or 4 o'clock show tomorrow night, or tomorrow evening, I should say, because Tamara, a host, is wanting to come up and speak about Devlin Tate, right? She's Devlin's grandma. Her mom did adopt Devlin, right? And they have had another tragedy strike in their family. So I'm not sure how much she will want to update us on that, but she definitely wants to come up and talk about Devlin since we're approaching the year mark of his disappearance. So I'm very happy to have her up on the panel and give her a voice to speak on the subject. So we're definitely going to do that tomorrow during the day. So I might start a little bit early and we may just watch, a video that I'll put together of Devlin because, the news came out and said, and even the police officers were saying that they cleared the family. And there was some polygraphs that were pending. So, we will get to more of the details, but what I would really like to focus on with Tamara is some of the other scenarios or things that we can focus on of what may have happened to Devlin, right? In terms of who all he was talking to, who had access to him, family members aside. So I'm excited to have her up as well. Yes, you too, Funtuski. Thank you for being here, everybody. You guys are awesome. Again, Liberty, thank you too for bringing in really great comments. And Carla, Detroit says, yeah, that would explain how CP got the scratches and bite marks. Sebastian didn't make it out of the garage, in my opinion. It was Dolly or JLR who showed the picture around the time that the cameras and lights went missing. I believe it was Dolly. I believe it was Dolly. Are you talking about the bulbs that were in the floodlight? The floodlight bulbs. Good night, Bo. Thank you so much. Oh, did you get your cookies, Lori? Oh, that's so great. Oh, yay. She says, I have dozens of cookies to ice and decorate. Oh my gosh, I would come over and help you. That sounds like so much fun. Oh, guys, thank you so much for hitting the likes. Look at you guys, 142. Wow, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Aw. Yes, I bet it was so much fun. Aw. Well, I hope you guys enjoy them. Aw. All right, guys. Well, let's get together tomorrow. Like I said, I know Tamara's got a doctor's appointment, she said, during the day. So we'll just have to do it like around probably 3:30. I'll probably set it for her, and then whenever she'd like to come up. And we're gonna talk about just some updates in Devlin's case, in terms of, maybe theorizing on a different way. Um, so, because we just got to find him. I don't know where he could be that he wouldn't be, reaching out to his family and friends, because that's just who Devlin is. He's a sweet kid. He likes to talk. He likes to pop in and visit people. Um, Thank you, Coffee, Crime, and Cats. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, yeah. Let's put our heads together and see. And then also, they're going to be doing some wonderful things to try to, spread some more awareness about Devlin. So that's another big one we got to do. And thank you, Bo. I did check on the E's today, and I was checking to see if there was any updates, and I couldn't find any. But definitely keep the E's in your prayers, guys, and also our little Aaliyah. We have just so many people to pray for, right now. And you guys are just the best prayer warriors out there. So I appreciate all of that. And, um, you know, always praying for Sebastian and Seth as well. So, all right, guys. Well, you all have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I will talk to you tomorrow.